I don't know why, but the image of you, Mini Miner, like exploring the Czech Republic, its history of Fortnite, etc., has just really made me laugh. We've got one more duo, one more player, in fact, we particularly want to highlight, because Alba has made it to the lobby after narrowly missing out on the Major 1 play-ins by 15 places. She's now teamed up with Xenox Takata, and she's going to be uncontested with him tonight at Chopped Shop. I'm excited for this duo for many reasons that you are probably going to explain.
I'm just as excited, Frankie. I mean, Alba's even going for her first FNCS finals appearance, and being uncontested, it should put them in a great position to do so. But what's great about Alba Mini is she's also a very great solos player.
Yeah, fantastic at solo competition. I know last season in particular, absolutely popping off when it came to solo competition. And that's sort of what you need to do in this level of Fortnite. You need to be performing in solos in order to actually get better teammates. So Xenox is a player that does have 3 grand finals appearances on Middle East. And the reason that she's able to play with someone just like Xenox, of course, with all that experience, is because she's got that level of gameplay as well. So much incredible solo performances from last season. You can see that 2 wins in the final, another win in the final as well, and second place there in that second stat in the solo victory cup round 1. She just missed out on the first there to none other than Shark, so I'm sure that will be we'll let her off for that one. But incredible solo player, and I think that's so important as a player in Fortnite, because so many people ask, like, oh, how do I improve my teammate? How do I keep going up in terms of teammate quality? That's what Alba's doing, keeping on performing in solos and performing at the very top.
Yeah, and that's going to bode well for at the end of the season when we do see some solos competitions. So keep your eyes out at Chopped Shop and keep your ears out for our casting, Joe. We need to check in with 112K and Taco because we've been making predictions all weekend and we want to hear theirs first because we're polite like that.
Well, Frankie, I think actually you guys need to hear ours because I would like to take this opportunity to apologize to our lovely viewers. The Desk predictions have been weak this weekend. I mean, these guys haven't even predicted the game winner. So look, we're going to show you guys how it's done. Taco, who is a guaranteed win today? Not just qualify, win.
Yeah, I mean, something stinks, and it's definitely been the Desk prediction. So obviously, I got to go with the tried and true, okay? Because these guys might be dropping at the 0 point, but I'm expecting them to secure 1,000 today. It's Nathan and Nebs all day long.
Look, I like that pick, not just because they're from the UK, but because they've been in great form. They're also coached by our good friend, Coach Harry, right? So shout out to him. He's been doing a great job, right? Qualified Maldus yesterday in E2. I'm going to go with Hattie and Fishy. I know they're contested now, last minute or whatever, but I think these guys have all the minerals today to win one of those off spawns and just go get the dub and just completely frustrate that Wonky Land team going into next weekend's finals. That's how you do it. 2 guaranteed wins, no problems there. Let's do better, please. Come on, guys. Wow.
I'm really lost for words, but it is my professional obligation to speak. And I did say that Vico Malabuca would win VR in the first 3 games. They won the first game. Thank you very much, Mr. Levin. Enough of you for the next 30 seconds. Takata, I want your prediction.
Yeah, he's just straight line at this point. No, 1, he copies my shirt. 2, he actually copies my prediction with Huddy and Fishy. So I have to switch it up now and say Chap and Flixie, but we'll see which one ends up winning the game first.
Mini Miner.
There was something I didn't mention earlier about one of the players in this lobby. We have a Welsh player in the lobby. It's Cynox playing with Velo. I'm left with no choice. I have to choose them. And even if it wasn't Welsh, I would definitely choose them anyway. They're going to stay consistent today. They're going to win off spawn no matter what happens. They're going to qualify through. Maybe not a game win, but they're going to qualify regardless.
Well, Mini Miner, we knew you were Welsh, but who knew that Taco is British? Stealing Nathan and Nebs for herself. I'm actually going to say Pix and Firen. I know we're always talking about Dharm and Deemish, but Pix, he made it to Summit. He can definitely make it with Firen to the Grand Finals lobby. This is a player I know was very disappointed with his performance back at Summit. I literally spoke to him and reminded him he made it there, and he's definitely going to make it this weekend. But will he do it in the first game with a victory royale? We'll have to head to the casters to find out.
Thank you very much, Frankie. Look, I would like to apologize and correct myself because, you know, I was wrong. Frankie did get 1 game winner right. But in my defense, we don't listen to Frankie's predictions anyway. Well, all right, let's get on to the real action here. Of course, heat number 3. We got to be serious tackle now because, you know, these are the last spots to fill out next weekend's grand final, and it's already looking like a very, very fun final. And I think a lot of the names in this heat will make major waves next weekend.
What really adds an interesting layer to this is knowing also that all the teams competing today, they've had the past couple of days to also sort of reflect and review on some of the strategies that they saw going well, and then some of those strats that went a little bit less well. And obviously here today, the goal is going to be securing a victory royale because it's the surefire way to secure your spot in the battle bus here in Major 2 Grand Final. So for right now, we got to find out what's happening here in Game 1.
1試合目取ってくれても全然。
Alright.
2試合目く
Who
らい
will
で
be
取る
our
んです
teams
け
to
ど。
make it through heat number 3?
そのおもろい
Of
決断
course,
が出て
before
る。
we get to the end game action, it's going to be all about these different off-spawn battles taking place all across the map. We have some fun ones in store, some surprise ones that we weren't quite expecting, Taco. But we will be doing our best to break all the action down. Shout out to Calasoto. I didn't realize Calasoto was still kicking it here. An OG EU competitor here. We got everybody showing up for the EU heats. Seti and Comeback.
一応フリーで設計としてはよかった。
Just trying to be first to the punch and do succeed in securing the Flyer Quarter beta, but have to remember making it out of this drop is still potentially problematic, and things are picking up at Latte Landing. Teams already trying to establish who's going to be taking the first stroll. And right now for Benek, World of Hurt, just nothing really to work with. Has to be very accurate. That striker, I don't even know if they'll get the chance to try and get any shots off whatsoever. Sticking Rizmo just immediately giving a little bit of pursuit here. We've already got him so incredibly low. Don't want to let this opportunity drive by. In fact, it might get stolen away if they're not fast enough with it, because Seti's decided to make a debut off in the distance.
I mean, that was, I was very surprised to see Seti sort of flying in there. And not only has he allowed Benek to get away, but he's actually gotten some free damage on the Latte Landing team now himself. So a very nice sort of swoop in, and this is the benefit for Seti and Comeback now, that they don't have to worry about being contested or spawned in this game. I was going to say, Taco, look, clearly just the aura of knowing that Cammy was coaching them was enough to just make the other team dip. Like, they were just like, nah, we just don't want any problems anymore if, you know, the great Cammy is involved. So we'll see whether or not Seti can continue, because he's, as far as we can see, you know, he doesn't have much support here. Comeback's in the distance and is quickly closing in, but they want to commit to this one. He sees a weakened opponent and he wants to capitalize and milk as much out of them as possible.
And not only that, but he might even be able to secure more than just the surge damage. They can net a couple of eliminations. That would definitely make it much easier for their setup later on.
And now I wonder, as we wait to see how this concludes, where Chicho and Skivvy ended up landing. But nevertheless, Comeback and Seti in a much more favorable position than I think some people might have predicted it.
For Chicho and Skivvy too, the other side of that note is that I was hoping to see potentially that True Legs coaching versus the Candy coaching, if that had been a potential, but other strategies clearly entering the mix here. As Comeback Seti continues just applying steady pressure now towards Rizmo. Sneak, but two separate angles, separate lines of sight. They're going to stay tucked away inside of the building for right now. It is their best bet. They know they can force at least one of the pair from Comeback and Seti to challenge them. Maybe they can get a little bit of leverage, not find a shield crack, potentially even looking for that immediate knock, but this is a very delicate play right now for Rizmo and his duo. Because a singular miss, that's all it would take for Comeback to try and just continue pressing the issue there.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think Comeback Seti losing their patience a bit, not wanting to walk into a trap that they know is being set by Rizmo. And so it will be a disengage for the meantime. Gives them time to sort of loot up and wait for the opponents to make a couple more mistakes. But Chawa, though, on the other side of things, is going to be getting active. There is action taking place elsewhere. I think we're getting glimpses of it here now as well.
Some of these teams too, potentially even holding each other at bay. You can see some of the map bosses in the vicinity. Glubshy, Robin, close by. They might decide to get a little bit more up close and personal with Colder and Prusen, but until that takes place, they are just going to have to wait and see whether or not something more can develop here. You can see where things initially might have kicked off. In fact, it is Robin found himself a little bit more exposed than what he'd clearly anticipated. So a nice little ambush. That explains why Globeshoe was actually just trailing a little bit more awkwardly off in the distance as opposed to engaging a little bit closer up. See, this is it's part of the problem though, Lev, because you've got Seti Combe. They've been stuck at Lotte Landing clearly for far longer than they initially intended, and now they're trying to secure this engagement. But the problem is you're extending an invitation now for another third party to decide to intervene. And for Noodle and Kaysen, everyone clearly trying to prioritize their early surge, their early advantages. And Combe and Seti aren't careful. If they don't secure this elimination fast enough, they might find themselves getting collapsed on. And just like that, Rizmo has been eliminated, but Noodle, Kaysen, still looking for a setup. Snake not going to go down just yet. Noodle missed initially, but still finds the cleanup. But that has given a heads up towards Comeback and Seti.
Yeah, and Comeback and Seti get exactly what they want out of that, right? The zone pool is favorable. It meant they had more time to play with. They're able to camp in, and even though the third party comes in, it just forces the issue for the other team. And so they get the damage they needed. They're able to make use of the map control that they have to head back, get whatever loot they're missing out on now, and continue to play out this game. Great off spawn and early game strategy from them so far.
Based off of that quick stat too, we'll get an opportunity to see whether or not Nebs and Nathan can perhaps replicate that from what we saw of Thomas and Focus even. They secure their game one from similar heat, and now Nebs Nathan trying to do the same as Alba. Have to really lean into some of that solo prowess here up against the likes of Wolvex and Zarv. One elimination tells me that that might have been onto Alba's duo Xenox, which is a bit unfortunate for a game opener, but at the same time, this is really just the testing grounds, that first lobby, everyone getting the opportunity to really see how things are initially going to shake out.
Yeah, look, this isn't our first time commentating Alba in a heat stage, right? She obviously wants to make that first final, and she's come close in the past. It's about sort of piecing together the lessons of prior attempts to try and salvage something here that can sneak you through. It's a good heat for it.
Can definitely see Sky and Scroll's influence already, though, on Velo and Xynox with their initial strategies. And sure, it was a little bit of a haphazard game for Sky and Scroll yesterday, but that doesn't mean that Velo and Xynox couldn't have finalized the recipe for success here. But there is a lot on the line, Levin. Obviously, with both of these duos competing against their former ex-teammates in this same heat, there's obviously the pride contention of who's going to make it to finals, who's going to make it to finals first, potentially even, and also just knowing I want to make it to my first grands.
Absolutely. That's what it's really about. I just want to outplace and show that I was not the problem. Chap certainly isn't the problem in this fight right now. He picks up one, and he's looking over the siphon wall. Giving a bit more room to dance about and try and find Robin. Of course, Robin isn't really working with much already off the back of the reboot. And so, Chap and Flixie sitting in a very comfortable position here. A big testing ground, I think, for these two. Right? In a heat that I think many people in EU are saying is the weakest, you would expect Chap and Flixie to roll on through. The problem is for them, Taco, is I think they've been in plenty of situations this year where we expected them to sort of roll on through pretty easily, and they haven't. And so what is the expectation for them today? Of course, it's to qualify. I think the question comes down to how they qualify. Is it a comfy qualification? Do they show us a sign of maybe what we can see next weekend, or do they scrape their way through and leave us wondering whether or not they are the right combination for each other?
Ready for them to break the mold. They've already got that Belgium block. But now it's about finalizing the steps leading into it, and they have just had those hot and cold instances so many times in previous tournaments that it would be phenomenal if they could just bring it all together here and show that they are in ship
絶対
shape.
通りやろ、通り
But
そうは
right
ずの量が落ちてくれ
now,
たから、
problems
ラッ
continue
キー
into
取りに行こうみたいな。
deep outskirts of the northwest sides
で
of
も
the
死ねも
map.
したかった。
So
死
many
ね
of
ましたや
these
なら、
teams that were just
明日
looking for
裏
those
ハモリってくれ
reboot
たと思うで。
opportunities, given some early mishaps, and now finding themselves just still stuck in a world of trouble here as
イベントが20から23位くらい。
Alum catching
このロビン、エクスポースロバーンとはまた別のロビン。ロバーンとロビンで別か、これまた。
could be a dangerous spot to be in, but for Flixie and Chap, where it initially had a pretty big advantage against Robin and Glupshy playing for those
クリ
reboots,
ックスラップってサンクチュアリフリー
now
熱
they've
ない
got to deal with yet another team
サ
trying
ンクチュアリフリ
to
ーだいぶ
have
強
a
い
bit
け
of
ど
an advantage here. But it's Chap and Flixie, and we're talking about, hey, we want to see those dominating moments. This is one of those circumstances where your veterans on EU should definitely be able to showcase their strengths, and in fact, they are going to do enough to prevent Zestful and his teammate from reconsidering re-engaging.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I'm about to say might almost sound hypocritical because I did say I want a strong performance out of them today. I almost don't want a one and done because I want to see a couple more games of them. You know, I want to see what they're about today before they sit back and watch the rest of the games. And so, Ping and Ghost, another duo I think a lot of people will be wanting to see what they're about. Of course, Ping, a player who had plenty of success last year in trios with Manabuka and Walks. Ghost, a player who in 2026 has been highly touted as a top talent. And both, I think, have struggled to really find the right partnership duo-wise to find any sort of significant success. So an opportunity that has to be taken here today. Hey, our fan favorites on the screen. Everybody's favorite EU Fortnite Pro, Mr. Savage with Truly. What are your expectations of them today?
I'm leaning very heavily towards consistency. That's the main thing that I think I want to see out of Truly and Savage, because when you are such a newly formed duo, it can be a bit complicated to get the exact practice that you'd be hoping for, but I know that these two have steadily been grinding. They've been joining inside of the scrim sessions. Truly has definitely been hawking down Savage to participate and practice with him, and I think it's just a great mishmash of what you need from a player like Truly, who's new and definitely excited and trying to get every last little bit of knowledge from Savage's experience also coming into the mix. And it can be really well played for a scenario, but I want to see them just making it to end games as a duo.
That's what we all want to see. Tackle the believer. I'm sure we'll see many people spamming the cabbages to help Savage or whatever it is they do. Doing it for years. I still don't, I'm still not tapped in, but I know they do something for Savage.
Hellfire and Winter is an exciting duo, though, because this is, I think, a re-emergence for a player like Hellfire, and then Winter, not necessarily new to the EU competitive environment, but they have done relatively well at just consistently making it towards finals lobbies. But to hold that thought here, because Cruisin' Colder, seems like the action has definitely been building up pretty heavily for these two. 4 eliminations already, and that's not exactly something you would expect to see this early on, but when you have a team sitting now 418 above the damage threshold, they've been able to find consistent refreshes, and material management has certainly proven to be a problem for teams based on some of these past couple of days in the zones and the way they've pulled and some of the exposure. So for Cruisin' and Colder having these solid box fights, especially against the likes of Chicha and Spee, those are the kinds of closeouts that you really need to build that confidence early on.
And that's not good for Comeback and Seti with Chicha and Spee going down like that, because the core game might just make them opt to revert to their original drop spots plans. But great defensive fighting there, showing how to deal with a team that's desperate for surge when they're knocking on your door.
Quick glimpse of where Nathan and Nebs were just at. A little bit of congestion now starting to pool towards that west side of the zone, but Battlewoods can be a tricky area to navigate. Really got to make sure that you are monitoring your builds around those trees, not finding yourself incapable of building next to one. But for Giras and Cheatin, Right now, it is exclusively a focus on trying to see if they can maintain just above that surge threshold, teeter-tottering the line, and Ifrozi and Chuck, it could be a good option here, but whenever you lose shield to that surge, you're having to spend a little bit of time to heal back those shields, because an overpeak could be the worst-case scenario. And for Cheatin and Geras, they don't really have too many options. They've just got to keep trying to apply pressure.
Yeah, they need this damage, and so they'll play aggressive for it, but they have to worry about the surge. And then the rotation is not easy either. The good thing here is if they're able to get the damage what they have, they can sort of wrap towards the zone, but they're just going to be wrapping straight into the congestion, so it only gets harder for them. Not considering the fact that they ain't won the fight. They gotta stay alive.
Say that when get us in the exchange here, that Siphon just barely going to click in for both Geras and Chuck, but now both of these players left as solo, still having to try and figure out a way to even break past the congestion, because everybody that's already on that edge of zone is already looking directly at them, and Geras immediately suffering the repercussions of this drawn-out exchange because it took so long to get into zone. Chuck was hoping that sacrifice from Geras just ahead of him would mean that he could survive, but even after making it to edge of zone, there's a little bit too much lobby focus, and eventually just being forced directly into the clutches of another player. It's an unfortunate circumstance, but sometimes it's just how it goes.
C-O-O-K-E-D. Eyedrop and Gonzo, we've not really talked about them. It's our first time seeing them in this game. I mean, I don't want to repeat the typical eyedrop tropes. But I will, because it's my job. The reality is we've seen eyedrop in great situations over the years in FNCS. We've seen him have great spells of form where he looks like he's about to mount a FNCS winning charge, and at the final hurdle it doesn't quite happen for him. He's playing with Gonzo now, who, as you can see here on your screens, knows how to hit a shot or two. So these guys may go underrated, but the question will always be, and the pressure is at its highest, will they be able to deliver? This game will be a good test as they position to play height for the rest of the end game.
Gonna have to watch their backs too, because Nathan and Nebs just steadily creeping up towards them from that mid lane, secondary height position. Wouldn't be surprised to see them go for a clash eventually on the high ground. But for right now, it's a little bit more of a problematic venture if you're Ghost. This is a good chance to really try and lean pretty heavily into some of that soloing experience, but it can be difficult when you are dealing with fighting back and forth with that surge line. Only 10 above currently. Does have a good amount of materials and builds out, and we know that Ghost can get fraggy. It's just about finding the proper moment, and a lot of times players kind of just waiting to see if they can just catch someone on the move. First rotations can sometimes draw a little bit more attention than what you would want. Seti and Comeback, though, they're looking great currently. 858 above, 1 elimination. It seems that a little bit of an early scuffle definitely did them some huge favors and being unconned.
A great example of just how a great start to your game can snowball into what could be the makings of a finals qualification game if they can really piece things together here. Nebs and Nathan have had a bit of a tougher time since the end game has begun. We need to be careful not to run into a brick wall here.
状態いいよ、サベージ。いい。
They've seemed to have found a little bit of rhythm with 5 eliminations. Just doing a great job at tarping underneath height. Savage, truly, also trying to gauge. They want to be some of the first on the go, but Levin, just looking at their loadouts, they are going to need a refresh eventually. They are running incredibly low on materials, and for Eyedrop and Gonzo, it's still just fixation, front side. Holding the high ground, Nathan Nebs continue to just kind of terrorize these mid layers, but also doing a great job of making sure to stay on top of prioritizing that front side control.
Yeah, and look a bit of
rotation
there for Nathan, but
Trolli頑張れ
the
Trolli 頑
intention,
張れ
investing the materials to
やばい
find them the
クソ
refresh
ジリ
that
変
they needed
こ
to
れは
find
まずい
just a bit of control in this game.
戻りアンチでもない終わっ
This is
た
a really
トロリー頼む
scrap
お前
spot
飛
right
ばして
now
くれ
for Truly, but we'll have a chance to see how far his wings can take him.
トップ10ま
As
で
a
来たいよ
solo, many players know even making it as a duo in from the backside of zone can be a complicated measure as Nathan turns around one more time. Alba will be eliminated.
トロリ
Four
ー多分死んで
eliminations
ないな
now
まだ
for some of UK's
トロリー頑
finest.
張ってる気がする
They don't look like they want to
す
stick around in this lobby. Seem like they want to just get the job done on the first go round.
Uah!
Truly now looking for a closeout, but can't get the
Yes,
refresh he
yabai,
needs.
これは
That'll be the end of the run here
これ
in
は
game
やばい
one. But Nebs has been taken out. Flixie also trying to see whether or not he can go even on this exchange. Unfortunately, losing Chap, priority fragger, is going to put a lot of pressure on, and Nathan and Nebs
I know this
shut
is
down that tango. Chap and Flixie just big cost.
Yeah, a lot of our top hitters
Wow.
there losing steam, but you know who's not so far?
That's
Tide
cool,
dropping
I like
Gonzo
that.
up top. That time will come soon, though, and
立ちが
we'll see how they'll deal with it. It's not going to be easy because when you've
や
got
ばいこ
Flixie
れは
feeling
やばい
it down below like he is, anybody that runs into his path might just be running into the end of their game. We'll find some more space towards the front of the zone as Combat tries to creep his way in on the back with the chug. Flixie doesn't have as many more materials to invest into his position here, so just gonna have to try and heal and find a shot to hit, and the shot he will find. Can he get the loot with the player in the box? He's gonna have to duck down. Flixie still manages to stay in this game and just catch up a bit more placement if he can.
Oh,
He'll
come back, come
eventually
back.
Get dropped out by
Come back,
Combat,
come
who
back.
finally made his way in. And still nobody
Come back, come back.
contesting iDrop and Gonzo, and they have completely run out of steam up with the builds.
You have to wonder now what's been taking place, who's been waiting to try and steal this one away. Wolvax opted to see whether or not they could take a stab towards height, but iDrop will be forced to drop chopped out, doesn't get the chance to heal. Fall damage will be the final calling card here, but Gonzo still up and running, has plenty of rights to play things out. Ghost has done an excellent job also as a solo, but the Storm will finally take him out. Velo and Zynox playing through the low ground layers, only having to contend with Combat essentially on height, and Combat with no builds. He'll be forced to drop down directly towards where Velo and Synox are at, and they'll immediately find that elimination, no problem whatsoever. But the question is, can they connect with the last one? It's a 2 versus 1 endeavor. They've just got to make sure to close it out, and Gonzo won't be able to nail it. So congratulations, Velo and Zynox. This is a perfect opportunity to showcase exactly why you guys opted to play together in the first place.
Look, one thing I know for sure is that when it comes to predicting a Welsh player, you can never doubt Mini Minor. We're going to send it back to Frankie in the desk to break that one down.
Thank you so much. I feel like we've been talking a lot about Spanish Fortnite recently, probably because of Takata being on the desk, but we got to talk about British Fortnite now. Mini Minor, congratulations to Velo and Zynox. You know, these guys, they rebuilt things together, and now they're going to the grand finals together.
I want to talk about Welsh Fortnite, actually. We are a different breed. That's what we do, right? Yeah, no, unbelievable stuff. I'm honestly a bit of I can't lie, yeah, I'm a bit of a fraud, though, I'll be honest. I did say that they wouldn't win a game, so it looks as though they've proved me completely wrong. And I thought they'd be playing a lot more consistently, not getting as many eliminations, not getting as fraggy based on that div cut performance, but Takata, the way they played this endgame was absolutely fantastic. Electric at times there as well. I think it was, what, 6 eliminations for the win, and they'll be really, really happy with it just in this first game here. Really great start.
Oh yeah, no, the chemistry all-time high. They were the only duo for a while there in those final moments when iDrop went down and the issue is they kind of had to play that heal off a little too early, so once they came back, they're already low on mats, and then with Levin switching up on his kind of desk trash talk instantly and celebrating Mini, you know, everything is just a surprise here in Heat 3.
I do wonder if Velo learned a thing or two being on land at Summit with Mr. Savage, who's regarded as one of the greatest IGLs that Europe's ever produced. But I also don't want to take anything away from Velo because we're on this journey with him now, and we'll see him and Zynox in the grand finals, and we'll see you guys after the break. ベロ初グラファー。ベロ初グラファーや、ほんまや。よし。リセザー号が落ちた。先に攻めてるつらい。リセダンな、まあ、したな。俺もトラッカー見てびっくりした。ヒート見てなかったんけど、アジアは。トラッカーで結果確認したら、ああ、落ちてるなと思って。まあグラファには6割ぐらいの確率でいけるかなと思ったから、まあ、多分いけるんちゃうかなと思ったけど、勝しちゃったな。
Milk can help you grow. Milk can't prevent your ride from blasting into space.
オーダー92、91やった。昨日より下がったんか上がったんか分からんけど。マジで負けてなくてな。ビデザンきついな、マジで。101でめっちゃ下がってるやん。おい、またスカイスクローとピコマリブカやけど、これ昨日スカイスクローとピコマリブカがおるから特集してんのかと思ってちゃうんかい。変わってないやん。ジョブリボンしないで切れました。結構落ちてんな。
What an opening game of heat number 3. Congratulations to Xenox and Zynox, I should say, apologies, and to Velo for making their first ever FNCS Grand Finals. Because if you remember, Velo and Savage made Summit through the last chance lobby. So it's going to be a big grand debut for them next weekend. Doing it for Britain and more specifically for Wales mini-minder. But let's take a look at the leaderboard and find out where things stand after that first game. Because if you cast your minds back to their end game, most of the time the high ground was held by iDrop and Gonzo. They took it early. No one seemed to hold them off at points like iDrop's beaming any challenges out of the sky, but then he got beamed right back. Gonzo ending up in that solo situation to Carter, but he played it so well in order to clutch so far.
Yeah, it looked like they had full control throughout basically every moving zone, and nobody was able to take height for them until those final moments where iDrop, I believe, actually went down. You can see here they were taking shots, but after that knockdown, iDrop did end up falling, going down to fall damage, and this is where Gonzo was in a tough decision. He had to force the heal off a little too early without time to fully win it out. So once he came back in, it was already a 1 versus 2. Odds were not in his favor, and despite running out of materials, he went down in second. But that's still a good match, Mini. That's a great way to start the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do not mind that at all from those guys. The way they took height, the way they held height was really good as well. It didn't seem like they were contested throughout the entire end game right up until the end, which is sort of where it all fall apart. But really nice game from that perspective, given the experience of iDrop.
Definitely, it's great start for these guys, and it's also a fantastic start for Chap and Flixie. Flixie found himself solo towards the end of the end game, managed to take 7th place with 4 eliminations, and we expect big eliminations from these guys.
Yeah, it's funny because we actually didn't speak about these guys at the beginning of the show. Yeah, they are the only team in the lobby that have already actually qualified through to the Global Championships. And when we speak about teams that have already qualified through, we talk about them in the context of just having that freedom, that ability just to wiki a little bit, try and play height, trying to go for a little bit of some crazy plays like we've seen in some of the other heats. But these guys played it a little bit more calm, played those mid-ground layers, didn't try and play height. But these are two fantastic fraggers to Carter. They were doing so very well on those mid-ground layers. And even I really like to see those little pre-edits coming through as well, showing that they're really playing with confidence right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd call it calm, because they were non-stop looking for refreshes and eliminations, and you know, in the end it got the best of them, but they picked up 6 along the way. Decent placement. I mean, it's more than enough to kick things off.
Well, let's take a look at the top of consistency right now, and that's Alvin and Rise. This is a Polish duo. There's a few notable Polish players in the lobby tonight. These are players we don't typically talk about, Mini Miner.
Yeah, not players that we've necessarily seen at this level. We've seen Alvin won FLTS final in his history, but it's nice to see some newer names, and of course Crix that's qualifying through here, or having a very good game here, looking to qualify through. Excited to see more from this team though. It's one of those teams that we don't necessarily know too much about because they're, you know, a newer team to the lobby, but what I'm excited to see is just whether they can continue these end games. The theme often with sort of newer teams, especially teams that we don't get to see at major final level, is whether they can continue having that consistency, or whether that first game decent performance will sort of get to them and they'll get ahead of themselves, which hopefully that won't be the case.
Well, they're looking at page 2 right now, and don't forget that the standings, what you're looking at is going to change. So at the end of the day, we'll be looking at the top 15, because the top 5 will be taken by the Victory Royale winners. Right now, it's the top 11 for contention. So currently in the middle of the pack of page 2, we've got Savage and Truly. I mean, we've got 4 more games to go to Carter. It's not a bad start getting 15th, but, you know we can see more from these guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. Yeah, it's all right. The good news is they didn't have too much off-spawn trouble from what we saw, I believe. So as long as they're able to consistently make it to the late game, you know, I trust in the ability of Savage and Truly to consistently play this one out. They could have had a better match, but you can't complain either. It's 5 matches to be played out, so hopefully they can make it happen.
Got to hurt a little bit though. It's got to hurt a little bit for Mr. Savage and Truly, because both of their ex-teammates have now won the very first game. Of course, Velo with Mr. Savage qualified through already, and Truly, of course, with Zynox. It's like, hang on a sec, did we choose the wrong team? Should we have stuck with who we played with previously? So, interested to see how they pick themselves up after that. Hopefully it won't affect them too much, but just something to keep in the back of the mind.
Well, interesting to see so many new duos tonight, and we talked about Seti and Comeback at the top of the show. Seti went away from Poland to team up with Rax at the start of the year, but now he's gone back to his Polish roots. He's playing with Comeback. It's surprising we haven't seen Seti play with many other Polish players, because he played with Cami for so long. But right now, this is a great start for these guys, Mini Miner.
Fantastic start for these guys. As it happened, they're uncontested at that Cami split as of right now. So everything that I spoke about at the beginning of the show, just ignore that for that very first game. It didn't happen, but hopefully, or maybe for them, they might be contested later on down the line. But if they can continue to be uncontested, they should be able to make these end games really well. And in particular to Carter, Comeback doing such a great job solo clutching for so long there. Seti went down a lot earlier in that end game, but of course, that's what you need, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I basically have no doubt they'll be able to qualify if they stay uncontested. But as you mentioned, Manny, we did a whole breakdown on it, and it's a very big possibility that, especially if the other team, you know, has some trouble where they're currently dropping, or I don't even know where they're dropping now, it's likely that they might go back.
Do you think then that if Chichonsky do go back there, are they going to feel refreshed and like ready to rumble? Do you think that Seti is going to be reconsidering his position at the drop spot very quickly?
We'll see. I just think the fact that Chichonsky didn't have a very good game there, they might now go back, so we might see that fight go down.
Well, let's see if it's going to happen, because we're ready to head into game 2 with Levin and Taco.
Thank you very much, Frankie. I'm excited. Now, if this is what this is to offer Taco, maybe people were sleeping on this one, because that was a fun first game.
No, without a doubt. I mean, I would be very surprised if tons of people would have nailed Velo and Zynox as our game 1 winners. In fact, I would even wager that most people were kind of hoping on the downfall in this sort of circumstance, and now it's all about all eyes on Savage and Truly. So let's see what happens next here in game 2.
あざっす。ここでトークが結構うまそうやったら、俺の視聴者がもしかしたらアーリー君が配信してる時に見に行ってくれるかもしれん。チャンスチャンス。
The pressure is now on
Chance,
for
chance.
Mr. Savage. We can't let Velo qualify through and Savage is struggling here. We just gotta go through, win game number 2, show him, look, anything you can do, I can do better. They gotta double their limbs and everything. You just gotta outshine them in this game. The pressure's on.
We would never hear the end of it. We already are never going to hear the end of this. I can assure you that much, just knowing the kind of character that Velo can be. But hey, enjoy the celebration, because Major 2 Grand Finals is up next, and that's exactly what all of these players are still contending for. Survivor, Barry, trying to establish a little bit of dominance here at Sinister Strip. Is going to make it into the vault tunnels, but whether or not they'll be able to escape, have to potentially wait and see. The double Maven loadout there for Wyvern, and eventually drop one of them. Doesn't have delayed pull-out time, but still, both of these players just trying to hunt down that final elimination. They don't want to have to worry about constantly having to check their backs. It's just so much paranoia. Nizix still barely managing to sneak away. Survivability is all it takes sometimes. And Wyvern Berry have spent a decent amount of time in pursuit here, but the moment that they've chased the player out of the POI entirely, that might be all it takes for them to recognize that it's time to just get our loot path established and really start building on our own game plan. Checking in elsewhere though. Frosted Flats with Velo and Zynox having had Game 1 success, now up for grabs, and 2 separate parties have decided they want to take a gander towards it. Noah and Aruya still waiting to see whether or not they can get the upper hand. But one more time, the longer it takes for these fights to conclude, the easier it becomes for another party to intervene. And especially when the entirety of the lobby knows that there is no truly established duo at this POI, it just makes it all the more susceptible for some further sneaky action.
Yeah, but that's what these Osborns often are about, right? I think we often, throughout these heats in EU and on NA, if you've been watching over there as well, you just get these fights at spots where a bunch of different teams start to get involved, and it sort of builds and develops on itself game after game. And oftentimes, Taco, you can't even identify who's the winner coming out of it. It's just a mess. Ooh.
A bit messy.
Ooh. So, let me get this straight. Cammy decides, I'm going to coach my good friends Seti and Comeback, and I'm just going to turn them into Prime Pete and Poyo. We're just running it down. That is the strategy. Early game, we land, and we just run it down on whoever lands nearby. I like it. I'm loving it.
Get back to that in a moment here. First, Wolvax and Zarb. Just trying to be quick about it. No real time to waste. Seeing whether or not they can take out Skoz and Vegeta. A couple of last-minute entries into today's competition, but here nonetheless. And they are still trying to wager whether or not they'll even be able to establish a little bit of footing here. Seems as though fight's gonna fizzle out a bit though. Twek and Mitro. This could be a bit of a devious ambush for anybody that might have taken notice of it when Biko and Malabuka at one point even fell victim to this sort of trap, and it looks like Nitro and Twek have just stolen a page out of that playbook, because they're going to be able to net at least one elimination off of the patience sitting inside of the cone, waiting next to the vending machines over towards Lifty Lodge. So their time wasn't wasted in the end.
What do we have here? Hellfire and Winter. No. These two obviously have a fair share of experience, especially in the case of Hellfire. and of course Danish players, so I'm only going to say nice things with the production team listing right now. But two players that, again, I think probably go under the radar in terms of their ability to do this, right? Give pressure in these types of fights here in the Storm where Jewel just wasn't expecting them whatsoever. Look, you can see here he's able to just lurk his way on in. Tidy. Gotta be on your feet, son. Gotta be on your toes, head on a swivel. Can't be getting caught out like that. And the great thing about Hellfire is, again, he has that experience to know we can just take that and leave. We don't have to force the issue. That damage will be more than fine for the next couple of zones as we loot up.
It's part of the problems involved, right? With when you've already taken out one member of a duo, you get a little bit too tunnel visioned on trying to find the other. And that's the reason why Hellfire and Winther were able to really take advantage. Still, Chat Flixie, Golden Grove has seemingly worked out for them, but checking in with what Savage and Truly have been getting up to over towards Shankin Sanctuary. And this will be a bit of a struggle moving forward, largely just because they've got that Velo and Zynox Victor Royale sort of looming over their heads here, but for Hellfire and Winther, they just want to see whether or not they can actually take out Jewel too. They already took out Tidy earlier on from a well-played sneak engagement. Doing a pretty solid job too at just ISOing. And Jewel just doesn't have an escape route. Just a really great job at preventing the escape.
Finish the job. And again, that's why they didn't have to force the issue earlier, right? These things comes in swings and roundabouts. iDrop and Gonzo, not the worst first game, right? If they can have another game like that first game, they'd be almost good to quell based off of the points in previous rounds. But I think they're going to want more than that, especially if they continue to be as aggressive towards playing high as they were in that first game.
Especially for someone like iDrop too. Oof. Sneak nearly managing to turn that in his favor. Jello and Sleep, they needed that break though. Got plenty of whites to heal through coming out of Latte Landing, but the surge could potentially be a little bit of an issue as the match continues to develop, just knowing that, you know, it's great to find those eliminations, but less so when you are eating big damage in the process. For Chicho and Spi, maybe they've been hoping that Comeback and Seti would have been the victors in that first lobby. Part of the reason for them potentially trying to avoid that all spawn early on is to see whether or not they can revisit their original intentions and try to replicate some of that success.
Coldan cruising back here towards Frosted Flats, which we've seen obviously be incredibly messy already, and that will continue here as he looks to try and take control of the wall, can't quite grab it. So wall attrition will still just continue here as they try and claim as much space as they can, re-farming and all.
Almost like they're sizing each other up.
Yeah, many people who have played scrims of any kind or tournaments of any kind, you'll be familiar with these types of situations, you know, especially when you're playing like zonal scrims and like you're not allowed to actually fight yet, when you got a team right next to you just trying to take all the builds and the pieces near you, and you're like, what are you guys doing? Like, do you guys want to fight? We're not supposed to fight, but if you guys want to fight, we're ready to fight. That's the type of energy I'm getting from that interaction. And usually in these situations, they don't fight. They just annoy each other until it's time to rotate. So, Wolvax and Zarb in game one, tackle. You saw them trying to make plays, right? They went up for height. Then iDrop and Gonzo started to look a bit weaker. And I think that's exactly the type of role this duo is going to be playing in this lobby. They're going to be the disruptors. They're going to be the team that comes out of nowhere and makes a play that makes you go, oh, wait, they might just steal this game. Game one was a nice first attempt and a decent glimpse into what these two have to offer.
And that's the thing, you always have to expect somebody to meddle in your business, especially when it comes to trying to hold the high ground. But Zarb and Wolvex aren't the only duo who's likely got intentions of heading for height as those moving zones will start to build up. Because Flixie and Chap, we were asking for it. We wanted to see, you know, some signs of life from this duo, those strength capabilities, and they're definitely doing a decent job at handling work in the mid ground. Lobby 1, but it's the repeats that really have to continue to accrue here before there's any sort of full convincings of what they truly have in store here today. Alvin and Brutus faced up over a supply drop now, really just trying to scope out the area. Only 32 above, so it makes perfect sense now why they've tried to utilize a little bit of height. They're going to need to start applying some pressure somewhere, probably hoping that a separate box fight might break out that they could get some tags in on. Maybe even scouted out the fact that Alba Xenox a little bit held by Chuck and Ifrozi, but it'll be tough to come by any sort of freebies. Lots of players is doing their best to try and close off those angles.
Yeah, those two are looking to try and continue the wonders of that first game. Yeah, best surge last game as well, so certainly don't know how to do it. It's just about repeating over the next couple of games.
23分の13しか当たらなかったんです。
Nathan and Nebs.
ヒート2全然当たってない。
We saw them sort of run into a bit of trouble towards the start of the last end game, but I think what was so inspiring about Nathan and Nebs, and one reason to I think keep backing them is how they were able to recover from that situation, right? They got a good refresh. Nathan made some great rotations that just put them again in a better spot. And I think when you have a team that understands how to recover in these types of games, they're always going to be a valuable asset.
You know, you're on the topic of recovering, and that's something where newcomers to the set lobby experience can have a little bit more issue with trying to identify Vegeta, just seeing whether or not he can successfully out-heal Storm Ticks, but even then, you can't heal Shield and your Whites at the same time. Cheatin' and Giras just taking advantage of the situation entirely. You know, that solo is definitely struggling.
Did he have a build? So, I mean, I get you, you know, you're just struggling, you're desperate to try to just get the heal off, but you also just can't grieve there, you know? You have the build, you gotta place the wall.
Just don't think he expected them to be there.
Expect the unexpected in this one, I'll tell you that much. Tom, just about getting in, not with much, but just about. He'll be hoping he can get one of them big pots chucked his way soon. He's found one for himself, not bad. Another one will do though.
But again, just so many players barely managing to hover just above that surge threshold. And then, not only that, but when you've got other competitors just desperate to try and get their surge damage online so they can stop taking damage from those ticks. Just a lot of layers that can really complicate things here. But for Ping and Ghost, this is a clear coast. Could not ask for a better opportunity than the one that Coach just created. They were already looking good on surge, but the elimination points to boot. Just nice to have.
I don't think we've seen anyone using this pistol. You would remember, I'm correct.
I do know
that Nico was having some fun with it during
that one game. This is a problem. This is a problem. Can't even remember anything. It was just so quick. Blinking,
it's not necessarily a hot commodity. It's the best way to put it. But I can't fault players given pistols and stingers in comparison.
あれよ。まあ、ペクシはその世界にとったけど、チーっていうのは5試合になったエロクーパに隠れたラッキーボーイだから。
See, this is a bad spot
それはここの地域の話、シャドーバーゴとかはやっぱ、あ、でもそっか、世界大会の上位やから知ってるのか。
Catching people off guard, they had such a strong first game, and this is the complete
先
opposite.
生ではないけど、今のリチュアル枠はチャップフリクシちなみに、ちょうど聞いてるの。リツマル枠がチャップフリクシになったからよろしく。
Alvin just got a nice little benefit.
セッティー
Another one of those teams where very solid first game, but now it's up to comeback. Sort of see things through here in lobby number 2, and placement points haven't even started to factor in either. They're relying exclusively on those two eliminations they've already gathered. Is get that pan out shot to really highlight some of the duos. Had a bit more success here, but Combat just getting squeezed right now by the lobby. Trying to get some damage off. 431 below. This situation, it's just too tall a task to handle right now. Combat is just flailing about desperately right now. But we need more than just one elimination to bring things back. Instead, see where the successes are coming in for Flixie and Chap.
Yeah, they had no idea Flixie and Chap were watching them from that angle. That's a nice find for Flixie and Chap. Looking good in that first game and looking good here so far. Honestly, looks like they want to outright win this one. Able to wrap their way up on this hill in front of quite a few players as well. So good amount of priority. Gives them a bit more time now to look for even more opportunities to get some elims, and they get into an even better spot here now. Great rotations coming through.
Just smart the way that they were able to avoid. I believe it was either Gonzo or Ghost at the very peak of that hill. It's Ghost and King who were still in priority height control, but this right here, the lineups, King and Ghost, just fully preventing so many other duos from actually encroaching towards that bottom of the hill face. And it's exactly even more impressive that the Flixie were able to just skate by all of it. But Ping and Ghost are not done just yet.
あれサベージ、おい、このワンチでこれはどういうこと？何をしてんの？え？サベージさん。
That at least one other player will go down before he has to expend practically all of his heals. Singular shield pot left over. Already having to burn out one medkit out of the 3 he was holding on to. And no player falling just yet means this next rotation he opts for, it could be his last if he's not careful. He might not even have a choice. Just got to get a move on. Gotta try and find some damage. That sole player just refusing to budge and finally Savage catches a little bit of a break here, Levin, but he had to use practically all of his healing resources.
Yeah, not quite the 12-elim game I think we were predicting them to try and go for. But I mean, it's not over until Savage is completely out of it. The one build does not fill me with confidence, though. Especially being here on low ground zone, will bounce back, and so he's got to get through quite a bit of a mess here. I think he might just try and look to shock straight through there. I mean, that would be a risk in itself. He'll go for it either way. Ducking, diving, dropping. Right back where he started, almost at the backside. This is not where Savage wants to be right now.
Whether intentional or not, the one silver lining there is that Savage does finally get the opportunity. Afrozi has been thought he had a chance to heal, but just like that, Savage immediately punished the moment he tries to make it towards the body loop. Didn't really have any other options though. Just a solid attempt trying to make something out of nothing here. Way up above though, Nebs Nathan starting to try see whether or not they can scale upwards, but High Ground just immediately shutting that one down. Ping and Ghost, they dropped from their perch, decided to get a little bit more involved in these middle layers, and that has given some big woes now for the Brits. But for Ping and Ghost, front side, control, Flixie still deep inside of the storm. So what had initially looked to be such a promising rotation early on is now just working against them. But Flixie here, just like that, had a moment where it almost seemed like that was going to turn in his favor. Fortunately, just doesn't seem to be the case here. Decent amount of solos, though, still hovering.
Yeah, and Ping and Ghost aren't one of those. And so now it's the double play in the back to just stagger and allow this chaos to ensue. They really are set up now to make waves in this one. Fishy, he's looking to just fight his way through the chaos. And we know just how good he is at that. They will find one. And Fuzzy now has to pick up the pieces. Hutty will fall, and so the score is even. And he'll find Fishy in the back as well. Fuzzy is popping off, but he needs to find a way up this hill.
It's going to be tough, but at the very least, he can actually buy a little bit of time just playing his heels. Eddie Ed just cheering on his duo right now. Already had success with Pink and Haris, coaching them yesterday. And he'd manifest the same for himself here today. As Zestful and Super Eye. Very low on material counts. But when the lobby is so stuck inside of the low ground, it might not even matter. Ghost as a solo now. Trying to see what more he can bring forth. A little bit of a shot there onto Wyver, but still playing through solidly. Backside of zone. Will start to make his way forward after utilizing a little bit of the Chug Jug to heal here. Wyver just so incredibly low. No mats. Just fully exposed, and Zest won't waste any time with that.
Yeah, Zestful and Super Eye, since taking height, have not really struggled until now. Zestful completely knocked into the storm, and Super Eye now cowering below with just 0 builds. And so it looks like the low ground teams really hold the power here. Zestful will drop down, Super Eye will follow, he'll get one, and he'll actually clutch up! Oh my goodness! When it looked lost, with no materials, it was the shotgun that got the job done. They just
did a great job. After they were able to secure the high ground, Levin, they were completely taking out each solo one after the next, and that little dominoes effect is what really seemed to give them the edge there off of those refreshes. But of course, we've got our Desk, who's also got to break it a little bit further down.
ちょっと待ってな。配信これしたくないから裏で見ろ。配信で見ようや。よし。よし。もういい。どんなもんか見ようぜ。さようなら。ほんまに嫌やったらやめとくけど。ガチで嫌なんかネタかどっち見ていい？でもこれでちゃんと喋ってたら普通に流れる説なんで。自分の声が違う。それはええやん。ほな音消しときや。それが嫌なだけだったら、それはもう慣れるしかない。配信するのは絶対自分の声聞くとき来るから。見るで。それが嫌なだけだったら見るわ。よいしょ。
スモールリージョンは知らん。1回しか落ちてない。どこ落ちたの？もう1個。最初の方。スクワットか。フワかこれ。フワエイブかや。やばいぞ。
普通に喋れてるくらい。
落ちてしまうのか。
意外と喋れてるやん。
エイブかがボックスないてくる。
全然喋れてる方じゃない。最初にしては。
フワ上がっていく。フワを倒すしかない、これは。弱すぎる。正規ショットだ。
弱すぎるとか言ってる。
こういうやついる。
弱すぎるとか言ってる。弱すぎるわ。
本当にやめろ、ライラキリ。ガチでやめてくれ。ジョブは私。 でテリーが見ている。目の前にいるがセーフして。やめて、本当に落ちんなザボ。でも正面チーム悪いザボはこの試合。でもジョブここやろ。対面してる。また対面してるってもう。ジョブが死ぬ。ジョブ。
まあいいんちゃう、普通にリアクションでなんとできてるし。よいしょ。市場込み込み、いや市場込み込み関数の方がおもろい。市場込み込みで登録、まあ登録はまああとしとくわ。じゃあいいよ。まあまた配信すんのやったらしとくわ。じゃあちょっと待ってや。これどこでやんねん。あ、これか。いいよ、登録しといたらいいよ。ガチで嫌なんか俺の配信やないかい。
何をしてる？何ここにいるんですか？
無言の時間ないのに割と頑張ってると思う。評価バレてた。こっそり低評価のつもりだったのに。ってことでみんなアーリーくんの YouTube 配信するか知らんけど一応やるらしいんで、おもろいかは知らんけど見てあげましょう。明日のセントラはそれが知らんけど。思ってたより喋れてたわ。うだうだゴニョゴニョ配信じゃなかったわ。ちょっと取ってこれ。
Back on the FNCS decks, we've got 3 more games to go of Heat 3, and they're going to be absolute bangers, judging by the previous 2 games. So let's take a look at the leaderboard and see where we're at. Remember, we're looking at the top 2 duos for the duos that are qualified via Victory Royales, and now we're looking at the top 12 in consistency. You can see at the top there, Ping and Ghost. They've had a fantastic first couple of games, and that second game was difficult for many of the duos in this lobby. Duos have actually got quite a lot of experience. Ping and Ghost, they're a couple of those names, and yet they seem to thrive in that Chaos mini-minor.
Yeah, they did, and they're 2 of the best players in the lobby, realistically, when you look at it. Both players that didn't really have a very good Major 1 when you look at it. Of course, Ghost playing with Tayson, not qualifying on through. Ping playing with Wox, I think it was for a long time, not having the success that they would have wanted either. So it's a really nice sight to see both of these guys come off of a pretty poor Major 1 by their standards to now having a really good Heat here as well. Just consistently making those end games in the first 2 games, finding a couple of eliminations, but also sticking together so well as well. They're on 133 points, which if we look back at the last couple of days, they're almost already qualified to Garter, so they may be able to try out a few different strats for the rest of the lobby.
It's looking great for them. I mean, they're basically there. They're also tied for the most eliminations throughout the day. And in the play-ins, they're actually second place in 20+ elim matches. They had over 3 matches with more than 20 eliminations. Obviously, it's a bit of a different style, but they know how to get fraggy. They know how to get those eliminations, and I don't think we're going to see them drop down anytime soon.
Well, Nathan and Nebs, they're going up in the lobby, only by 4 spots. We're expecting big things from this duo. We're even potentially expecting a victory royale to Carter Taco, at least, is. So I think that potentially we're going to hopefully see even more going into game 3 from them.
Yeah, it's almost crazy to say that this is less than what I expected for them, because they're literally top 5 on the consistency leaderboard, and they have been playing incredibly well. But this is one of the top teams in the whole lobby, and I mean, it shows. They got 13th game 1, 8th game 2, so it's been pretty consistent, but I want to see them get in that top 5, Mini.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're a team that only managed to get one win in the actual play, so maybe they're not in that sort of winning form right now, but they've always been that sort of consistency mid-ground team, of course, they're landing right in the center of the map, so they shouldn't have any zone issues today, especially since, of course, they have that massive rift there as well that they can use to rotate around, and with 2 of the best players in the lobby right now, of course, Nebs, we know how good he is at fragging, and of course, clutching up here, getting so many of those eliminations, helping to propel that team forward. Again, it's a sort of similar situation, I guess you could say, to Sky and Scroll on a very less level, I guess you could say, where both individual players are very, very good at holding their own in those circumstances. So expect to see these guys continuing to develop and progress their way up the standings in this lobby.
A quick one, Mini Maya, with Nebs and Nathan, do you think now that the lobby is, I mean, slightly, marginally cleaning out, that they are going to be having their sights on high ground in the next game? Because in game 1, it seemed like they wanted to take it from the eye drop, but they just didn't quite get the opening they were looking for.
Yeah, they're good enough. They're definitely good enough. And I think they know that. They're sort of better than a lot of the players in this lobby. They will want to try and play for height. They want to try and refine those strategies because you want to be going into the major finals with as many strings to your bow as possible. And they're the sort of team that I wouldn't expect to try and go for every single game, but why not have a look in those sort of circumstances, I think.
Well, Hutty and Fishy, we knew they were going to be contested at Wonky Land, but back-to-back games, they've been able to get out of their drop spot and into the endgame, Takata.
Yeah, I think they're actually not contested anymore, so it's looking pretty good for them, but I'm kind of just waiting for the win. They were tied for the most wins in the play-ins. They know how to win games, and when they do, it's normally a pop-off game. So they've been making it in the end game. They've been top 10 in every single match out of the first 2, 8th and 10th, so hopefully one of these will be converted into a victory royale.
It's a bit weird for them to actually play out all these games in Heats. They're not used to this based on last season. They were, of course, having to have one or 2 games actually making it to the end game. So actually interesting to see how these guys are keeping on developing throughout today. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, nobody's actually qualified through Wonky Land this weekend. So really big rewards for these guys if they can continue this level of form, because by the looks of things, they may just have that drop spot uncontested. So if they're playing this well, making end games like they are today, whilst uncontested, then they're definitely a team to look out for if they do make grands.
But let's look out for Chap and Flixie going to this next game. They had a solid game 1 thanks to Flixie managing to clutch some extra placement points and eliminations. Game 2, not quite as steady for them, Mini Miner.
Yeah, not quite as steady. It was a 17th there in that very last game. And they're too good of a team to not qualify realistically to Casa. Both of them are fantastic individual players coming together, such a fraggy team as well. But in this game, only a couple of eliminations, just got caught in the back right there by one of the players coming on through. And even Flixie here, there was a shot here, got that first knock, but of course couldn't connect with that second shot, which was ultimately the problem there.
I mean, there's a reason they're the only Globals qualified team in this heat, and 8th place right now, even including the 2 duos that have already qualified through a VR. I want to see them make it happen. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, quickly, predictions. Who's taking the victory royale in this next one? Takata.
Huddy Fishy.
Mini.
Chap and Flixie.
Ooh, okay, you're going with the big names. I want to see Pix and Firen. Where are you, Pix and Firen? And where are you, Levin and Taco?
We're right here, where we've been the past 2 days. We don't really move, but we keep casting because we have more games to talk about. Taco, any surprises so far you seen? You know what you expected to see out of Heat 3?
Well, easily the last biggest surprise is going to be Zestful and Super Eye pulling out the Victor Royale. I know that what tends to happen a lot of times with these sort of Heat formats is that you're usually going to see at least 1 or 2 newcomer duos sort of surface and break out with their Victor Royale heading into the Grand's lobby, but that was still just an impressive way to get the job done with so many other experienced teams surrounding them.
Yeah, the thing with these surprise wins, as we'll call it, they mess up people's predictions, right? And so I'm sure people now are sort of looking back at the teams they put, they're thinking, oh my goodness, okay, we're running out of spots. The people who I'm predicting they got to get it done. We'll see if they can start to figure things out here in game number 3.
Just trying to gauge who is going to find overcoming measures that they need. This is where those micro adjustments have really start come into fruition here, because for a lot of our teams, first 2 lobbies did not go your way. Certainly need to manifest something big here in game 3. Otherwise, you will be staring down the odds of having to secure a victory royale in lobbies 4 and 5, and with so many other duos that are going to be willing to try and send it to have the same success. It just complicates things even further. Shaco's an art skill though. Uncontested currently, but they know they'll have company soon enough. They might even decide to try and take them out first.
Yeah, this is an interesting team. I think people will be very familiar with the names if you've been watching EU for many years. Art skill and Shaco's French-speaking players who, I mean, have definitely had their highs over the years. Maybe right now not in their best moment. Oh, what a way that would have been. If he had actually just gone down to 4 damage there, as I was saying that, would have been quite something. But thankfully he doesn't, because we're not rooting against Art School. We want to see him doing well. But Noah, on the other side of things, we'll be hoping that that isn't the case.
Bit awkward now though. Art skill, trying to see if he can back. No one chased her into a corner, and that is going to force Noah to finally leave from staying hidden inside of the building here at Lifty Launch, but at the same time sent him so far down that mountainside that now it'll be up to Seisher to depart. Didn't really have much of an option here either. So Shaco's and Art skill will have the advantage from the overhead POV. But they know this is going to still be a little bit of a further complication to contend with.
Oh, totally nice.
Having the building control is the main priority here though. Obviously Noah and Shaster didn't actually have a real opportunity to fully loot it out, so definitely would wager that Shaco's and Art skill came out on the better end of that exchange.
And that's all that matters sometimes, right? With the nature of the early game meta nowadays, if you can just get 100 or so damage without taking any, that's going to put you in a very decent spot moving forward. Flexi in chat, started the day hot. Second game, sort of tripped up. What will it be here in game number 3?
Not really choosing to stick around, kind of being forced to hang about in the lobby. And one more time, duo that so many have been very hopeful on at the start of the season, and still think are capable. Something greater here is truly Mr. Savage, trying to see whether or not they can actually pinpoint this elimination onto Colder. Doing his best to be wiggly. The porta potty will take him to safety, but it is very short-lived, truly, and Mr. Savage still looking for the collapse here. We'll eventually find it. There's only so many times you can go back and forth before the two. Just cut that one off. 2 eliminations that'll start things. That's a big win right now for Savage and Truly. They're going to need a bit of a bounce back game here in lobby number 3, given that the secondary didn't exactly pan out the way that they would have hoped. And you do still want to find yourself in that favorable position to contend for the placement positions.
And these types of fights can be the scariest, the ones that derail your game completely. And now they've invested into it. There's gonna be an element of just needing to get something out of it. And that is exactly that. I mean, what are we doing, lads? Come on, like, I was literally about to say that is exactly what Chap and Flixie will be hoping for. Just give us some free damage if you're gonna leave.
To be fair, Chap and Flixie, whether or not they knew, but see, they didn't have any whites. They didn't have any means to delay any further. They could restore their shield, and then they just had to hope for the best off the overdrive. But obviously, doing that kind of rotation right in front of Chap and Flixie with very little cover to back you up is usually not going to give you the best results at the end of it. But for Sleep Yellow, they've had a very scrappy couple of lobbies so far, and that seems to be a reoccurring theme for this duo. Sila, though, hoping to actually come out on top for this one. Both of these duos, though, just a little bit worse for wear, the way that this one is shaken up.
Yeah, I mean, they're not working with a lot, right? And so they're just trying to wait them out, time them out, see how many whites they're working with. And in the case of Sleep, it wasn't many. So you can play a patient game and it can be successful for you.
Another one of those awkward instances, though, for Wolvax and Zarb, whether their intentions had been to apply a little bit more pressure towards that duo that they just left the area of. They recognize, with Pixoxy and Saren holding a surge base on a higher pressure point, just not really worth trying to contend with. Chat Flixie, though, taking some shots over towards Ping and Ghost. Still haven't left Golden Grove, given that this is their backyard. Makes perfect sense, especially after that last fight they had. Sort of buy them a little bit more time to hover about, see whether there are teams trying to utilize a dead side rotation of sorts, and they'll know that is exactly what Ghost and Ping were after. The way that they've wrapped all the way around from their starting point at Cluster Coast, just continuing to trail along that eastern border of the map.
Yeah, this pool is going to be interesting because Ghost and Ping obviously very impressive in that second game. Like really showcase some of their firepower as well. This type of result, it makes the game a bit more tough to play as far as the comfortability of it all, and allowing them to sort of play out their strategy how they like to. The best teams have to adapt in these sort of moments.
Physics and Silo, though, they were just hoping for a little bit of breathing room after finding those first two eliminations. Instead, Quicks and Zucky just continuing to cause a little bit more disruption than what they'd initially been after. Surge could be focal point for both of these teams, but fortunately for Sila, and they realize that Zucky and Quicks have retreated. Probably need to start working on their own rotation soon enough. The vending should help out a little bit there, depending on how much gold they were actually able to muster up. But Gonzo and Idra
yeah, I mean, these guys, again, I think one of the teams who you'd think almost destined for a win. I'm actually surprised it's not iDrop in the base right now. iDrop's got a 9.4 damage ratio on the day right now so far to the first two games, so and he's doing that from down below. He's not even the one sat in the base just farming the little peaks. He's the one refarming.
I like this though, because with iDrop and Ghost or Gonzo understanding that his duo securing a little bit of additional loot, and so he's holding down that surge-based position to really keep tabs on other duos that might be trying to encroach on their position. And you have to respect Gonzo as a fighter and what he's capable of doing on an individual level. Kirsten, though, dealing with Turtle. Rox also trying to follow suit. But it is going to be Asa who is the first one eliminated. This exchange, a little bit of a trade out, shot for shot there between Turtle and Rox, which means that now Radion and Bimbo have decided that they want to enter the conversation here and be the ones to finally put a stop to it. And for Turtle, easily a best case scenario. That little bit of third-party intervention can sometimes bode pretty well for a solo in a fickle position.
Yeah, you just need a distraction. Need someone to take the focus off of you. Just gives him a bit of breathing room now to reset and recoup. Radion and Bimbo will give it up. Don't think there's anything more to be had. Hutty and Fishy. Everyone's sort of waiting for it. I think a lot of people now are on the train. They want to see these guys get a win. Fishy seemingly gaining a lot of fans of late for his impressive performances. In particular, Hutty's been around for a while. He's had his praise. The young gun Fishy's starting to finally get some credit.
For good reason. Fishy has just been an absolute menace when it comes to the fragger department. And very recent tourney performances for Hala and Kaisers, though, having some issues here currently. And Silent Mixes, this is exactly the kind of chaos they needed to take advantage of the vendings.
Yeah, I was going to say, Hutty's probably pretty lucky Fishy can't speak good English.
That's what everybody's been saying.
I know the DMs would be going crazy with how he's been playing.
They might already be going crazy if you think about it. You just might not know.
I think I saw Boop say he's going to invest in an English tutor for him in exchange for 10% of his future earnings, which I don't think would be a good deal for Fishy.
Wouldn't be surprised either if that were the case for someone to take a chance on potentially even importing him elsewhere. See whether or not they want to take him under their wing, but Hutty, at least for right now, still wanting to find that success with his duo, and the way they've already been handling this tournament so far, wouldn't be surprised to see them find it soon enough. Garrison and Turtle, both of them just kind of delaying each other's opportunities to play for the reboots on their duo. Turtle might be able to bring Asa back into this one, but even so, Levin, it's just a lot of groundwork that still needs to be laid out for Asa and Turtle to truly have the recovery path they need. Savage and Truly, on the other hand, though, decent looks on their surge, but it is potentially going to be snuffed out in a moment, as now Savage and Truly will have to take a moment to pause. A little bit of a tough spot to be in, but they can make it work.
No, I think they're good. I think, again, as long as they have the whites to sort of sit here while zone opens up, they won't be too upset. I think they'll get even deeper, yeah. Just stay off the line if possible. Give yourself some more options if zone does pull far. Put yourself in a spot where you can maybe get a relief farm going as well. Shaco's an art skill. Eagerly waiting for this next zone, it appears.
Also recognizing the fact that there are teams opting to rotate. On the cliff face a little bit further up. Seti and Combek, though. Combek being knocked, he's just doing what he can. All about in the box, prevent himself from being fully eliminated. If Seti can close this one out, that would easily be a revive opportunity here, but it's not going to allow itself to happen. Nosif immediately making sure to shut that one down. Seti still waiting to see whether or not he can actually break through, but he knew that Nosif was hurting. That the surge would eventually take care of him. But losing Combek along the way has definitely put Seti in a very rough position as a solo now left to contend with the rest of the lobby, even if he's not caught inside of the congestion currently. Levin, the moment he makes his way in, the moment a single duo even spots the fact that he is a solo, it's just going to draw the attention of the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, it becomes so difficult from this point here on out. Really just trying to find little crevices to hide in almost. Skate your way through until you can sort of put yourself in a spot to pick up some stragglers in moving zones. These two won't have to worry about that though, hopefully. Nebs and Nathan Still waiting to see a big game for them. Oftentimes, to be fair, they do tend to heat up towards the back end of tournaments of late, right? It's usually those last couple games where they start to get into a rhythm. So if now is the first big game they're able to have, it would explain why. Frazzy and ADN though. ADN, a UK counterpart who's going to be doing his best to not make this game easy for them, but he's not working much by way of shields right now. Him and Frazzy are going to have to get a much healthier spot, Taco.
They're not the only ones either. Looking back in to what Flixie and Chap have been cooking with. And be some of the first on the go. Playing a little bit more towards the side of the zone, and they've done an excellent job at securing a very optimal position, not fully committed towards ultimate height just yet, but also having the capabilities to just stop duos in their tracks from actually cutting through their territory. Now we'll get a chance to see whether or not Seti really even have an opportunity to continue here. He's already got to deal with the likes of Surge ticking away at him. And 30 left in the Chug Jug and 2 medkits. He's just trying to prioritize getting the damage online instead. He knows if he takes a moment to pause and heal, it's going to be just lost chances to try and get some additional damage. Surge Threshold has bailed him out just a bit though. Still narrowly managing to avoid sitting underneath it, but he'll take the moment to actually try and trip forward. He's running out of movement.
Say, I don't need another year from you. I don't need another month. Not another week. Not even another day. I just need one more endgame. Can you show some of that Seti magic here? With nothing to work with. Can you pull something out of the hat? The opportunities are there for him, but he's got to do it one more time. Pressure being applied. He'll pick up the one. And this is where the journey continues. Can he do it again? He certainly can. That player is so low that will move away. And he won't chase it. He's happy with what he's got so far.
Might have even recognized the audio cue though, so close by, and said he will at least be able to recover a little bit of the body loot, which Bimbo and Radion are clearly not too happy with, considering that they were the duo applying a little bit of additional pressure here. But it's the refreshes on the overdrive grenade that have really saved Seti big time here right now, Levin. It's giving them the options to at least have slightly better mobility, try and catch up with the rest of the pack, but the zone pool, a bit brutal right now for a solo, and Seti's just got to do it all by himself. Looking for the heals, now trying to get his way upwards, but there are just so many pre-existing builds cutting him off every single step of the way. It's incredible that he hasn't had a chance to look down on him just yet. He's made it a little bit closer towards the front side of zone, but he'll need another big 200 shot to convert into an elimination refresh, both for the siphon and just for the additional scraps of loot here. And that's not the same kind of hurt that goes to the finger in. Instead, they're the ones applying a lot of the hurting towards the backside of the zone. Done a great job one more time. Making sure to maintain. Leading the charge here.
Yeah, another potential great game. Ping and go, showcasing to people that it may be the real deal come next weekend. They've already done enough to be comfortable for the next couple games, but they want to do even more damage to this lobby. Chap has to solo clutch. The zone will pull towards him on the front side of low. And there will be players sort of rotating above him now, so there's opportunities to get some elims if he wants some extra points. You have to be careful not to run into anyone too scary.
King and Goes just ensuring that they aren't in that ultimate low ground. They don't want to get caught. Any sort of congestion, just keeping tabs on that backside of the zone. But for Chap, he's been cut off. Losing Flixie just made it all too problematic. Actually holding down that front side position. Major and Twek now cutting around the tree, torping. Still on the overhead view though. That is posing some threats here, but it's also helping out Ghost and Ping, who are able to just pick up another elimination there onto Huddy. That is a bit of a devastating blow. considering that we were hoping maybe for that Game 3 Victor Royale, but for Wolvax, turning things around in his favor. Still, you see these players are finding the refreshes, but Siphon Material is just not giving them too much to work with after the fact.
Wolvax really got
なんで
fired.
そうなった？何が
Says
そうなっ
free. He's looking to
た？サボりすぎやろ、あまりにも風で変えて休んでセンタ
There's
ー
a couple hot shotguns lined up in this end game.
明
And
日
they're gonna have to be
行くだ
quick
け
to
で
use
1万
Hit
稼げるから行くし
Goes
かない。
jumping into the box and they'll deliver onto Geras. That's
Take it
exactly what they
number.
needed. And there's so much loot for them to pick up, but they have to watch their behind. Ghost, you don't want to go down now, son. He'll get caught out as well. Everything turning on its head. Picks trying to pick up the pieces in the storm, but he will get taken out by Wolvax as well. Wolvax is on a roll right now.
休まってよな。
And this is the perfect scenario for Nitro and Twek. They'll be able to right back up, but they are out of materials. So Wolvax, whether or not he'll be able to escape, it just doesn't matter. Twek and Hydra, they avoided the bulk of the chaos that was taking place in those lower layers, even being part of the problem with the way that they were suppressing from the high ground level, and just did a great job on capitalizing on their Victor Royale moment.
You thought they were one-time reload wonders. No, they are not. They are the real deal into the finals. Back to you, Frankie.
Thank you very much. Yet again, a high ground team able to take it early, hold on, and get the victory royale, Mini Miner.
Yeah, what a win for these guys. Rode out high ground so effectively well right there. It's something we spoke about a lot yesterday. It's something we spoke about a lot in Heat 1 as well. That turnover of height consistently happening. But so far today, bar that first game, we haven't really seen too many teams actually challenged for that high ground right now. So it does seem like it's quite free. And for Twek and Mydro, they make back-to-back FNCS Grand Finals. They'll be looking to sort of expand on that performance that they had last season.
It's looking like Knockout City on the low ground, though, to Carter. But as you just said, Mini Miner, Twek and Midro looking really solid to Carter. Is this duo a surprise for you? I mean, they're not unknowns to us. We know that they're a team that can make it to grand finals. I believe they have before.
Yeah, I mean, Minnie just called it out, making it back once again. They were on the radar for me. They were on the radar. I wasn't fully confident, but I wasn't fully out, right? I thought they had more than, you know, they were more than capable of making it, and they've only played better and better as the day went on. They started with a match where they finished 21st, then they got 9th, and now they got 1st. They won the game, so it was an uphill battle for these two, and I'm honestly not too surprised. It's a team that's like, they made it. I was like, okay, yeah. I can see it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I think they set themselves up for success really well there. You saw it in that 8th zone. The zone pulled back sort of over that hill. They were already really high above the rest of the lobby. We saw a lot of the clips right there, being able to get a lot of those beams done. And then, of course, the zone in that 9th zone went back down the other side of the hill. And when you're a height team, that's a really important section of the game to make sure that you're not going to get chopped down. You're not going to get looked up by other teams. And when you try and sort of waterfall your way down, you're not going to get beamed out of the sky. So they did that really well, and that's a really good sign.
何をしてる？何ここにいるんですか？まあコイルはめっちゃ安全。
きついなぁ、サベージ。
だからもうやばい。突破確定してるからって。適切な号はこれ地下かな、多分。地下ムーブですね。こいつら何をしてるん？
こいつら何をしてるん？やばいやばい。
何をしてんのほんまに。
めっちゃボロクス言われてる。なんで？
ああ、拠点に帰ってきたのか。いや、違う敵の拠点だ。
実際こうプッシュしたが。
ポルスさんの配信になってるから、ちょっとやめました。リーパーは最強なのにね、ジョブじいさんが。
ジョブじいさんのこと言ってるけど。じゃあこれ俺なんやないかい。今が1分こっちの方が絶対にアーリー配信見とく。俺の古い動画見るか。
や資材が全然ない。
も積みチリと積もれば山となりやから、毎日やってたら週に3時間半か。まあでも昨日の動画夜作っててんけど、ゼニガメメイピーの回数俺6時間かかってるから、それと比べたらね全然1週間単位で見ても1個の動画長尺作る今は入りやすいと思うから。まで伸ばすか。ソロがかなり増えてきている。ユート・リチャールは両の有利をしっかり取っていきたいところ。目の前敵が死んでいるが、ただこれ場所が狭い。なんとかダウンを上に上げたいところ。
偽プロから信じたやつ覚えてないよ、どこか。どの配信や。あれか、あそこか。
落としていく。これはリフレッシュ2人分獲得できるか。ただ狙いつつが
デュークがおる。
どうぐらいやはり込み合うか。
偽プロ再生したやつこれちゃう。
刺さるかこれ。
マイクの質悪い
ぐらい。これ。
これや。あ、
そういうの見たら。
音質悪いわマジで。音質が嫌や俺のマイクの。
皆さんこんにちは、タンドットです。今回は EU FNCS グランドファイナル王者となったスイジーとパトリックの解説をしていきたいと思います。自分はポルスさんがすごい好きで、ポルスさんの解説を見て自分もやりたいなと思って、YouTube を投稿し始めることにしました。ポルスさん第2世としてやっていけるよう頑張っていきますのでよろしくお願いします。
意外とライブじゃなかったらマイクの音質聞けるな。
左下の
意外と聞ける音質。
ところでパトリックはここに降りて、パトリックはこの家に降りて、スイジーは
待って
飛行機の残骸が
公式始まったら教えてくれコメントで。多分まだ
分かれて漁っています。
5分ぐらい始まらないやろ。
で、まず初動は漁ってい
セン
るだけ
ターのト
なので、
リを見る。あの時の配信
の経歴
同説
紹介をしていくんですけど、
200とか言ってた時のやつ。
知ってる人も多いと思うんですけど、
その時の見ても正味思んなかった。俺今と喋り変わらんで。
数字は
あたふた喋りを見ても多分思うよ。
アジアの FNCS チャプター2シーズン8でシャモキーズとタックスと組んで
フライム単独見ても知らないけど、俺今と喋り変わらんと。
さらにその後キャッシュカップトリオキャッシュカップも3連覇しているんですけど、
見てもいいけど、
その時
コメントの中で一番良かったやつ見る。トリオとね、これ見る。これ多分コメントの流れ方やばいと思う。
ミニピオさんも確かに見るか。
同説526ってびっくりしてる。
鬼強いな。全然強い。
星数字まで強かった、それな。
だから海で力がちょっとがそう、まあそうやオフスポーン行った方がいいな結局。ミニピオさんたちがこっちに行ったはげた方がいいと思うよな。分かれるよりはもうファイトを結局したいのであれば。いや、ミニピオのことじゃない。多分そういう名前の人がまた別でいる。リセイマコルタブッシュ、リセイマコルタブッシュ見るか。
これくらい行くのは無理。まあ、諦めてんのかい。
鬼強い。最強です。
これくらい行きたいじゃなくて、これくらい行くのは無理って書いてる。
今日寝ますか？俺、
私喋り方しないといけない。いや、それはないな。逆やな。尖ってる方が多分伸びる。
だいぶしんどいけど頑張ります。
EU も見るんで、ぜひこの配信見てる方、EU も来てください。じゃあ EU は12時から3時と、まだ見れんことない時間です。喋り方は尖ってる方が上手に来てくる。ポルスさんと一緒やから、優しい喋り方やったら。で、精霊がないのと、あとこっちによるメリットがなさすぎる。シャイニー周りは。ここにまずさ、降りるやつがおらんのよね。ここに降りる人がいたらいいんやけど、ここが降りがなんか知らんけど、弱すぎて、ここに降りる人がマジどこの地域でもおらんのよ、ここ降りが。で、その結果、打てるところがないっていう。で、移動したいけど、クライム、おかげ取られたらうっとしいし、みたいな。で、結局場所取れるとこない。来てほしくないんですよ、そこ。が渋いな。正常は2個あるから、そこは悪くないんやけど。600来た。ナイス。ちょっとコメント全部は読まれへんかも、ごめん。俺いつも全部読むんやけど、絶対。ちょっと読まれへんコメント。あとはピンク半ぐらいに OK。申し訳ないです。これラストマンワンチャンサベージ固定で見るかも。コメントくれるということでありがとうございます。ポルスさんよりは読まれる確率高いので、はい、ポルスさんの配信よりは多分読まれる可能性大幅アップなんで、はい、皆さんぜひコメントお願いします。ポルスさんの配信はちょっと倍率が高すぎて読まれへんで、俺らの配信は倍率そこまで高くないから、倍率とか言ってる。60% ぐらいで読まれます。60% 高いけど、同説900人の配信で 60%。世界大会弱体され味方たちにする作者、エマシストの世界大会まで弱体されんからだいぶ強いな。これ誰見ようかな、もう1試合目。ミニピオドリを見とく。これガチプライムタンドったやから、ここ。あれ、どこ行ったミニピオ。あれミニピオどこや。あれ、落ちた。普通に同説900ってグロいよな。登録者3000人同説900なんかありえへんから、普通に。あれおらんくね。どこ行った。とりあえず、ダゴさんたちでいっか。同説900っていかれてない、普通に。NH 賞見ますよ。NH 賞見る。EU を見る。ヒスタンティフィティさんと違うぜ。ヒスタンティフィティさんか。ソロは絶対ヒスキンさんやけど、トリオになるとやっぱ経験的にウィッチさんの方が強いんだよね。ブルースさんがウィッチさん選ぶってこと。オクシーが強すぎるな、これちょっと。ID 夏い、エッチさん。ブユーさんのコメントばっか。ほんまやん。ブユーさんとピオスさん。ポルスさんあれよ、逆。コメントが多すぎるって意味で、いい意味よ。俺の愛車コメントがそんなにポルスさんほど多くないから読めるよねってことで。むしろあれです。褒めてます。ユニピオさんおらんよな、多分これ。まあ、とりあえず、ユニピオトリとかぶってたザゴー戦で出してみるか。ザゴーさんは一人カラス。ブレースター見せてほしい。もう始まるんじゃね、そろそろ。だいぶしんどそう。結構見たことある名前のやつがいる。ごめんな、マジ。あ、生きてるわ。生きてるけど、極限物質で出すみたいです。さっき目でワンチャン対骨されんかったらもうそろそろ始まる多分。さすがにきついかこれ。いつも今日なんでサムライムタントでした。
Outperformance aside from our current 3 Victor Royale holders, it just doesn't really seem like anyone has really been able to really set the tone yet. Ping and Ghost might be the closest to it, but even then, yeah, it's just like that's not necessarily the duo that you would anticipate to be the ones setting the standard, given the caliber of some of the other contenders in this lobby.
No, absolutely. Look, there's a still chance to prove us wrong and to entertain all of us here. We're gonna head into game number 4 to see who can do it. Who will it be? Who will take this 4th game? I mean, as far as game predictions go, I've certainly not been doing a good job. I mean, these last 2 have taken me by surprise, but that is a good thing. Shows just how talented and how deep EU is when it comes to just the level of player we have available to us.
It's also what makes it a bit scary though, right? Because you have just this plethora of duos to sort of pick and choose from, and just about any one of them on any given day could prove to be like that team to really break out above the mold. Ivor and Very thinking about Sinister Strip yet again, and they've had a relatively solid day so far, currently sitting in 7th place on the leaderboard. So definitely hanging around what they need for that consistency metric and placements, but other duos like Shaco's and Artscale, they are going to start to need to really pull out all the stops here to get into that leapfrog contention for taking over the consistency department. It's just not been easy for anyone really. Even the duos that you would expect it from, still yet to really measure up.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many teams in this lobby, so many players in this lobby who I think we're still waiting to really hear from. Chap and Flicks, obviously the big ones. Some fights still taking place all over that we will undoubtedly be following.
I want to give a quick moment though. It's not one of the teams on screen, but shoutouts to Poland today. Got quite a fair amount of Polish duos that are all pretty much starting to preoccupy that placement positions. Even Alvin and Brutus, who are currently in that 16th spot, heading into this lobby, they still have the opportunity to try and overtake, but Kashi, Macek, Kombik, Seti, Pix, and Firen certainly been trying to deliver on the Polsku Górom front. Sure that there's going to be a good portion of the EU community that's definitely pretty happy about that. But for others, things are going to get a bit messier. It's these early off-spawn fights that weren't determined off-rip now continue to draw out, and it does extend the doorway, a little bit of an open entry point for a duo like Shaco's and Artskill, who really need to start building on their own momentum. See whether or not they can take out some of these teams that have just been struggling today.
Since we're giving shout-outs, I want to shout out Kaysen. Now, you might be wondering why I'm shouting out Kaysen. Just looking at the numbers from the first 3 games, and one number jumped out to me. It's not a number I'm used to seeing. And that is Kaysen has dealt 0 damage today. Absolute, not a lick of damage. And usually you're like, oh, come on, Levin, you know, you're throwing him under the bus. What's going on? I checked on socials, and Kaysen's currently playing on an iPad. I think they're on like holiday or something. They're sat on like the beach playing the Heats on an iPad. It's not going well, but props to the commit, you know? No matter where you are in the world right now, you can always compete at the highest level of Fortnite. It's a great thing to see.
Of course. That is a pretty, that's a pretty insane, fact check there. But also a lot of trust in the duo, I think. There's a lot of camaraderie, I think, that's involved for something like that.
Yeah, I was like, the numbers gotta be bugs. Like, I had to look into it. I saw 0, I was like, nah, just no way. It's just impossible. You've done 0 damage in 3 games, but fair play. Winfer and Hellfire, they've done a fair bit of damage, but they're gonna need to do more. They're sitting sort of around, I think it was 20th going into this game, so not completely out of contention, but need to start to pick up the pace if they are to be one of the teams that make it in.
If they really want to start turning up the heat, getting that initial elimination would certainly go a long way for both of them. Just gives them a much easier time. It's sort of figuring out how they actually want to try and handle these remaining lobbies. Do want to make note of the fact, though, that they have had to go on quite a cross-country journey with some of these zone pools, though. And that can make things relatively difficult for teams that are in that southern area of the map, whether it's southwest or southeast. But as I say that, I also find myself drawing back to Ping and Ghost and their successes, and they're one of the most southmost teams you could think of over at Cluster Coast, and yet they have managed to still consistently find themselves not only in endgames but converting it into very valid placements as well as elimination standings.
No, absolutely. It's not always an excuse to zones. You can, you know, it's not always something you can allow as an excuse. Great players make it work. Find the right solutions. Radion will continue to apply some pressure here. Bit of an awkward angle to work with, but not pressed for time.
Gotta be careful though. Other duos looking about. Looking to potentially take control of those positions. Savage and Truly, they have really got to step it up a notch here though. It is a very difficult spot for this duo to be in. But never say never. We've seen Savage pull himself out of the mud before. And now alongside Truly, as long as they can continue to hold on to their determination, this is where experience like Savage's really can start to shine, because in these types of situations, you've really got to be able to keep good control of your mental fortitude.
Yeah, the good thing for these guys is, you know, the story isn't over. At the end of the day, we've seen in the heats already where teams have come through, had a mid-first 3 games, you have a decent game 4, and now all of a sudden going into game 5, you put yourself in that position to make something happen. And for Savage and Truly, that's the key, right? These guys need to forget any of the woes from the previous game. You just have to focus on what's in front of you here, because this is really crunch time now. A bad game here would really just put almost too much pressure on them going into game 5. It'd have to be win or bust. So all eyes on this is going to be a fun team to watch for the rest of the day, because they are in only. They run at people like this. In some cases it might work, in some cases it might not. Based on how Wolvex has been hitting shots, I'd probably lean more towards him, but Xenox is going to do a good job of making this a close bout.
That could be a big shutdown though for Zarban Wolvex, a team that is currently inside of the consistency metric, and they have a stumble here. And they have managed to secure quite a few amount of placement points, so you would think their position should be safe and sound in terms of qualifying through consistency, which is a big part of the reason why we see them much more willing to get a bit more reckless and just take those immediate box fights. But like seeing the signs of life there from Xenox. As you already mentioned, because Alba and Xenox, they definitely needed a little bit more of a conversion here for endgame placements.
Shaco's an art skill. Art skill looking to apply pressure from the left, giving room to distract for Shaco's to maybe squeeze some damage through on the right. And they'll run straight at art skill, which works in his favor. He's ready for it. Big damage dealt. And they are in deep control of this fight right now.
This is exactly what art skill and Shaco's need. They tried to get a little bit involved earlier on over towards bus stop, and now they decided, well, a little bit too much action, a little bit too many opportunities for that to turn against us. So instead, they'll look to punish a separate team that has been in non-stop action all day today, but because of that, they've also found themselves in that bottom half of the leaderboard. And now, when you're getting barreled in on by Shaco's and art skill, a team that is trying to jump up in placements pretty heavily is now instead getting punished by another duo, Cruisin' and Folder. And all of these teams, well then, they're just all relatively in a similar spot. It's really starting to feel a bit more like, if it's not going to be me, it's not going to be you either, sort of ordeal. Because every single one of these duos currently involved in this fight are currently well outside of that consistency placement measure.
Yeah, I mean, the irony of the urgency is, all 3 of them are in the bottom half, right? And so chances of qualification starting to slim out in fights like this. Nobody seeming to benefit out of this one. Cruisin' will probably be picked back up. It just complicates things even more. Skos and Vegeta will walk through, and they haven't had the best of days either, coming into this game in 37th. And even then, it's not a smooth ride for them.
うまっ。シャークやった、ほんまに。シャークでした。思ってるんじゃなくて、ほんまにシャークを混ざってた。
But some of these fights, they're feeling a little bit more like cannon fodder for the real pack leaders in this lobby. Because all players well outside of the top 15 area on the leaderboard continue to fight for essentially sticks and stones. Other duos that are looking to cement themselves in a much more comfortable spot heading into that last lobby. Firing in picks, for example. Just trying to administer damage wherever they can.
やばい、勝って、これやばい。あー、終わったー。終わったー。耐えてくれ、カンバック。絶対落ちる、絶対に落ちる。危ねえ、危ねえ。耐えた。耐えた。
Outside of that first lobby, it's been a little bit more up and down.
絶対に無理じゃない。 さすがに知るんちゃう。
I think the silver lining for this duo is that the first game was so good that it still puts them in a decent spot, right? It's the type of game that gives you some breathing room, but eventually you find yourself gasping for air here in game number 4, and that is the predicament they're in now. They need to recover things. If they were to allow this lead to almost slip through their fingers and not qualify, it'd be a really big disappointment.
This could potentially end up being a pretty big clash, though, until the surge threshold ticks very much into Fishy and Huddy's favor. No real reason for them to necessarily try and force a fight, especially when you don't want to pick a fight with some of the lobby leaders like Pix and Ghost, excuse me, but Huddy and Fishy will instead look to take advantage of some of those teams that we've been spectating earlier on. They're coming very late to the party now. They're already pretty much working on fumes, and now it makes it all the easier for players like Fishy and Huddy that are boxed up, situated, to just continue to punish.
Yeah, they're going to be able to just sit there and just continue to rack up damage. They're in a great spot going into this next game. Again, the type of team that, you know, anybody fighting for a qualification spot probably wants to see them win, get them out, so the spots start to slip on down, because they are sitting firmly in it at the moment.
Before we get to see exactly how things finalize there for iDrop and Gonzo. Savage and Truly able to pick up an elimination. An isolated member there. But job's not finished. In fact, some would say that job might even just be getting started here in game 4.
The job started. I mean, still need so much more from these guys. Hopefully that elim is a sign of things to come.
But look, unashamedly, I think it's fair to share a little bit of bias from time to time. If there is a duo that can certainly turn things around at a moment's notice, it's Savage and Truly. They just need that spark, that one series of events to finally go their way, and it could be just one or two zones not ending up as max pools for Savage and Truly.
King Ghost 真面目や。突破確定してるけど真面目立ち
Again,
回
they
って
are
る。
working against other metrics in the lobby. You always have to consider other players' involvement. Robin and Glubshy, one of those duos that's certainly trying to build themselves up here.
Yeah, Robin and Glubshy. Ooh. Yeah, let's go back down, boys. Let's regroup for a second here. Robin and Glubshy, not the type of team I'm used to seeing losing fights like these. And ultimately, they need damage because they are below. But that should have been a lot simpler than it was.
It's not even like Karis has a whole lot to work with either. Practically on his last legs. Doesn't even seem like he has any sort of healing resources. Otherwise, would have definitely imagined that
Savage
would at least start to go back up, but instead, Glubshy Robin, because they weren't able to finalize that elimination, yeah, they're just sitting slightly below that surge threshold. And they don't get to pick and choose for much longer. They're just gonna have to start getting a little bit more proactive here with the rest of the lobby, but might just end up working against them. That
Savage
Surge takes just steadily picking them off. They never really had a chance to go for it.
Oh no.
Oh
yes. Okay, Savage.
いい今のカッツン熱い。
Because I'll be real, I'm not gonna hide my
おお
bias.
脳
I
入れ
wanna
て
see
返
Savage
した
do
のが
good.
死んだんやな表でやると。
Say what you
あ
want.
ぶの
We
勝った。
We
いい
wanna
危
see
ね
Savage do
we
good.
really want to see Savage do well.
What's
Like, yeah,
your
I think that's fair.
If you have any complaints about our bias, send them to @Carter on Twitter. He will handle all
あれサベイさん
complaints. Back into the game though,
Savage
Savage. The journey continues.
サベイさ
Because
ん
even with that elim, they are still down on Surge.
Yeah,
Truly trying to stop that from being the case though.
サベイさん
Can't quite connect with anything.
あ終わった240か終わった
Quicksat popped up earlier talking about how these guys have earned placement points in every single
Sashi.
game. They just can't get better than a top 15.
サシ
I think what's better between this game and the last tackle for these two is the fact that they are in it together. We've seen Savage having the solo clutch a bit.
でも死亡する側は一応リプレイで映ったはずやねんけど
To try and fix this situation that just seemingly keeps getting worse,
カッ
Taco.
ツン熱いんやけど
That's the problem, is that they both got next to nothing to work with, and with 8 players still needing to go down before that Surge will stop just being the thorn in their side. Savage and Truly just going to be forced into an awkward exchange here against Seti and Comeback. They've got to be precise as ever, but it might just be delivering some additional material here to Seti and Comeback instead. Truly still trying to force his way into the box, and it is just a fruitless endeavor.
And it's so frustrating because you have to jump in there. They make the right play, but ultimately the water is so awkward to fight in. You see Savage's POV, he's just bobbling in the water, can't do anything. And the same water trying to get out of it sort of leaves Comeback in a predicament. And so that leaves just Seti the sole survivor of that situation with not many builds left.
グラファでは見れる
We're
な
gonna
と
have
思
to
って
see
た
a
よ
Seti
多分聞いてたから
masterclass.
And ultimately did play a little bit of a spoiler there too for Seti and Comeback, because like you just said,
マジでさ
trying to navigate the remainder of this lobby as a solo is going to be very complicated, especially with the way that some teams have already opted to try and head towards height. Yosef and Izzy will look for frontside control, but Giras as a solo,
えなんで
he's just got to stay one step ahead of the rest of the pack. Little by little though, still making his way forward, still doing what he can. Still 10 feet tall here. Had a really solid loadout too, aside from the fact that he was lacking the overdrive grenades. Depends on how brutal these next few zone pulls might be for him. But for Chap and Flixie, they might actually be the ultimate countermeasure here, because Guerras got hardly any HP left.
さすがに3試合終わるぐらいのこのヘイテスト
The numbers so far today, Chap and Flixie have been one of the better teams, delivering in most categories, but they just haven't figured it out in these endgame moments. The fundamentals haven't been on display. Here in this game, they have the chance to shut everybody up and secure a spot in the major finals. They just have to hold on to height.
When you look at some of their opposition, like iDrop, who's left as a solo, as definitely one of our contenders that certainly has leaned more towards that height favorability, but won't really have the option, especially with no materials on the low ground, just kind of crouching about, trying to see if he can drop by Throzy, but Throzy won't budge, manages to hold on to his ramp. Instead, Pixovsky caught off guard here for a moment. iDrop just trying to take out Nebs entirely, but can't get a chance. The body rolls just proving to be such a menace for players hoping for refreshes.
I don't know if that was a missed shot or just the immunity of the knock body. Either way, he'll be frustrated. But there is still one more. Nathan, not relying on that though. Needs to try and deliver some points here in this lobby. Doesn't have too much HP to work with. Chap and Flixie go down. They lose height. It's Turtle and Asa who take it from them. And now they are in pole position to take this game home.
And this is exactly the type of game that Asa and Turtle need, because they weren't working with much else at the start of this lobby. Frozy still forced to drop yet again back to ultimate low. Sad and Pixovsky doing what they can to cover their heads, try and prevent Turtle from continuing to apply that steady pressure here. Winter though with a turnaround onto Alba, the Siphon just barely going to keep him up and running, but Pixovsky, Saren looking to take full advantage. chaos that had just ensued here. Asa Turtle still seeming to be the healthiest of the bunch, though.
What are you gonna do when the pressure is on and all you have to do is connect the right shots to hits? They will do it. Asa and Turtle, not a doubt. They waited for the perfect moment to strike and they get their win. A well-deserved one as well, Taka.
Look, when it comes to trying to gauge who's actually bringing home the victory royales, things have just been very thrown for a loop in today's competition. But for Asa and Turtle, I mean, obviously, big shout out to the Bear Army there. They're feeling good and primed up heading into Major 2 Grand Finals. Des, what do you have?
Well, I have a lot of respect for this duo because the fights and the end game right now are just looking terrifying. So the jurors that managed to hold their nerves and book their spots for next weekend grand finals, I would take my hat off to you if I was wearing one. Mini minor, great result for these guys.
Yeah, a really great result, especially since they were way down on the leaderboards going into this game. This is like perfect Heat's gameplay, if you like, because the one game that they were able to actually make it into end game.
目つぶって誰が勝ったか見てない。寝てたやん、それは。ほな、寝てたやん。
have no shockwaves. We get tied for 300 damage on the one rotor.
Savage トロリントッププロって捨ててるし。名前。あ、これあれどっち？あ、これあれか。トッププロって名前があれか。これどっちがあれ？ほんまの名前。あだ名がトッププロか、これ。いいやつや、サベージ。ラスマはサベージ固定で見ます。今回ボーダークソ高そうやな、これ。150いくな、確実に。
We get second or third with like a lot of kills, we can do it as well, but... Chat, you guys are saying playing too passive. There's literally 20 players in our area. If we key anyone, we're just gonna get fucking like third partied or griefed. Like, literally, if we fight anyone, there's 5 other teams around us. Look at this shit.
綺麗だけ見る。これちょうど今サベージ映ってるわ。ベッドあかん寝てまう。寝る気まんまやん、ベッドのは。
properly. They
I'm gonna run.
duos. It's going to be particularly tense for so many of the
Mongol savage して丸としての可愛いな。
Now. You can't outheal this. 9 people need to die.
Ah. 始まんねえ。響く人で自分の鍵にそれは何をしてんのすぎるけど。それは何してんの。アホや。アホでしか。サベージまだ。何も喋らんしサベージも暇。いつ始まんのこれほんまに。よし、お茶飲んどこう。一回。始まんねえ。
We just get blue PY at least one game. Holy shit! I haven't gotten the blue PY one game. That's crazy. Yeah.
最後は下に通る未来が見えへん。もうここで勝つしかないよ。頼む。いや、早始まってほしいな、ほんで。2時半スタート、これは。どういうこと？まだこれほんまに。いつ始まんのこれ。どういうこと？いつ始まんの？
Yeah. Mashallah, mashallah.
来たー。やっと始まったー。
No blue PR.
Ah.
It's really
bad, but it's fine. Looks like they're more like is this the thing with the other team.
そしたら差別診断出ますそれは。かぶってんの？これかぶってるくない？あ、違うよ、俺たちが。右が一応フリーなんか。いやー、シャバいな、でも。
So the barrels are later for you. Scale the barrels quick. The other ones. Yeah. Put the shell and the right together.
Ah,頼む。
We're gonna loot the chest above.
これだな、これ消してんな、多分。
The striker. One med to get 6 minis.
これだな、これ消してる。
Picking the kit. Go up and get the barrels. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go up here and look at this team. And then
これ待って、これ、サベたしさ、今日うまくいってない理由さ、この真ん中以外あさってなくない？ちょっと待って。終わってる、それはもう。真ん中以外あさってないやん、これ。終わりやわ、それは。それは無理やわ。サベージ悪ないわ、これ。フリー予定やったはずやのに。フリー予定が3分の1しかされてないやん、サンクチュアリ。それは終わりやわ。いや、嘘やん。それはきついな、さすがに。これサページです。なんかプッシュ毎回シャバめやなと思ったよ、サンクチュアリフリーやのに。
Easy, yeah, come, let's go to the cube. Come. Don't even go inside the building. Let's see big getting looked on by the same. They're fighting here.
テスト20個ぐらいしか取ってなくない？
Go above and I'm gonna shock us to the cube.
うわ、ジオで20はきついよ。ソロで、まあまあ、ギオでぐらいだね。いやー、これは良くないわ。補助触れるかどうかやな。いや、これリブと倒したけど。なんでも中に顔捨てられてる。もう終わった。明らかに物資がシャバい。
Yeah, I mean, we don't know where that team went, the lab team. Should go back and get shockwaves. Try and cap our mats and then look to cube on a different team. I have one. Just watch out, yeah, I'm gonna be camping here.
Yeah, 俺真ん中だけじゃ無理やろ、物資。
How am I just taking for them? We got more shocks. Do you have a medkit?
手増えたのでかいけど。いやいやいや、マジかよ。俺はうまくいかんわ。シャバいって。縛りづらいし。
This big real quick. Just watch out, yeah. Like, don't get camped on.
一応チャグチャグは変えるけど。
There's one shockwave here.
Which gold, yeah?
Shockwave this.
Which I can't. 精鋭のところにワンパと右側にワンパはマジで終わってんな。
Open this mid kit. Where were they exactly? On the mountain?
どっちかだけでいっぱいやったら全然いけんねんけど、両方取られたらそれは動かれへんわ。そもそも。
Down to just cube north.
かぶせないかぶせ一瞬で引いていってるし、どう立ち回る気なの？特に右側だけ取ってるし、パクって引くやつらは無理やん、あそこ降りても。何を考えてあんなとこ降りてくるんだろう。どういうことなの？これ、かぶり。かぶせる。でかすぎ。ナイス。
There's a teammate. Look for teammate. Look for teammate. Shockwave. See him. Here, here.
おいしい。
これ。
3サージする。
He's used 4 or 5 shocks. Using them. Going all the way into cluster. You see him? We went inside here, I think.
右側が21ポイントです。精霊が70ポイントで。精霊側はまだ立ち回れんのだし、右側に降りてるやつがバカすぎる普通。あんなとこ降りてさ、勝てるわけないやん。どこ忘れきなあんの後。
Let's do it, Dickie. I'm putting a scanner. Yeah.
設置してない。
Don't make space. You're gonna
ガス
try
切
to
れれ
break
ば
the scanner. Get my shit first strong. No. No. We're gonna get pinched in a sec, I think.
スキャナを入れてるからだいぶ有利ではある。いや、だって相手も置いてきてなんか。お互いスキャナか。
Trying to get back. Can't build the wall yet.
ここやばいな。
Yeah,
こ
the
こ
back
ファイ
might
ト
be
やな。
open. I'm not going in.
ピング相手、マジ真面目業やろ、ピングたちは。やめようぜ。
We buy another scanner. Reclaim it. It's out of stock then, I think.
いや、動かれへんな、このスキャナが邪魔で。
Gonna buy medkits. The scanner's out of stock. I'm gonna buy more shocks as well.
これ、結局きつくね。
Let me pop a medkit and then we're gonna shock back to this actually.
いや、オールバックたちじゃなくてまだよかった。真面目業やから。粘着してごまずそこまで。危ねえ。
2 medkits, 1 pen shock. I'm 315. We need to try and go back for it. We're gonna get this chest on the right. This shit is fully unlooted. Maybe I'll just loot all this. Come to me now, come to me.
アンチン悪い。いや、でもこれ、顔だけかぶってるんやったら、アンチ真逆、逆に助かってる気がする。こうやって、されてない場所あさって、ブッシュ増やしていこうが、まだチャンスはある。多分アンチ、外れてるのはありがたい気がする。あいつけたら結局、動てんから、その結果結局あれやろ。サンクチュアリー園伸ばせないよ、実際。こっちの方がマシで悪いんだな。
How many shocks do you have? Okay, come, I'm gonna shock us. I'm gonna get this last chest on him.
セッキとサベージ通ってほしい。マジでセッキは順位で通れる。サベージは魔法ビクロしかないな。
I mean, I don't really need it to be honest. We should just go to the cube. 3 medkits, 6 minis. I have 1.4k gold, okay? Did that. What was your heals you said? I'm buying a chug jug and I'm gonna cap your medkits. How many medkits you need? 2? No, I don't think no, I can't. Unless you get a little bit more. Okay, come, let's just go. Yeah, it's enough, it's enough. Get the bells. I'm shocking us.
このセレあんま飛ばん。そうや、あんま飛ばんねん、このセレ。なんか渋いで飛び方。そうなんやな。全然飛ばへん。
Nah. Reboot.
Ooh.
Shoot him.
いいタイミングでリブートしてくれるやん。アンチリード進入選手だ。入られへんか次。いやもうこれ2打目か次。やばいやばいやばい。やばいやんじゃあ。2打目やろ次。きつくね。ちょっと待って。きつない。まあまあ。もうすでにきつない。今アンチ。終わってる。反対すぎる。反対すぎる。もう今2打目やもんな。間に合うかこれ。これ。もうきつない。あれいや、きついきつい。いや、間に合うか。どうこれ。ほんまに。間に合うこれ。サージは余裕で以上な熱い。間に合いはするか。理長。間に合うけどやな。一応ストーンシックまだ出てないから、まあ一応、入れんのか意外と。今出たな、シック。もうそうそう警報というか発生するな。いや、きつすぎるか。一応入れた。サージ800以上はず。いや、意外といけれるんちゃう。こっちにアンチがあればいける。まだ次も反対になったらもうショックへの数的にきつい。よし。いやこれ状態全然悪くないならアンチ寄るならいける。アンチがやったなら全然いける。むしろ今まで一番いいんちゃう。チャグチャグ200で残せてるし、多分トローリーにもメイキチャグチャグやったはずだから150ぐらいチャグチャグ残ってるや多分。ならいい。サージがマジ余裕なだけ。多分今までで一番マシ。ワンリフレ取れればいいな。サージいけてるから、今までで一番マシ。で、サンクチュアリ絶望かぶりからこの状態はマジでいい。で、ただ、サベージはこういうところで謎の150被弾をしたりしがちやから、それだけほんまにやめてほしい。しっかりと一方的に当てるとこ当てれば、マジでいける。よし、手がつい。よし、やばい。後ろから耐えてる。いや、まあ。今のはいいアクション。使いますか、じゃあ140やったら残り。100と200か、じゃあ回復がシャバいけど、ではあるな。もう一回寄れ。うわー、鬼の真反対来た。鬼真反対来た。いや、ここの移動怖いな。事故りそう。マジで頼む。ほんまに頼む。
So they might try and pre us. Yeah, we have a free short there, yeah. But we might be. We just need to go there. 2, 2, 2. Okay, come. 3, 2, 1. Go to blue marker, I'm ramping.
いや、いいよ、いい。いや、ちょっと怖い。ここ割られたら怖い。
Got this up on. Yeah, give me.
ミニ持ってるから、それは熱いよ。 入れたんかもね、しかも。ワンチャンあるか。いやワンチャンあるか。いや、ガチ頼む。
Go to right. Spin. Show naked. Running on the other side. They're fighting. Trying to look for it.
人の襟早いな。クソアンチやから。これ、マジいける。うわ、たま反対来た。
3, 2, 1.
いや、今の当てたかった。
I'm running soon. What's your
いや、で
message?
も
2, 2, 1.
もうショックウェーブまだあんの。頼む。マジ頼む。あ、これやつ、残りやつとか、ショックウェーブ。ハイグラはもう、おるな。途中リテイク早いしかないか。
We need to go out here. Go southeast. Try and jump over this green chair, yeah? Okay. 3, 2, 1.
ドラマを見せてくれ。100?
100
やけどまた押せ。
Bring shocks as well. Come.
行くしかない。いや、いないわ。
He's on the left end. I don't know.
いや、ちょっとジリフになってきたぞ。倒すしかないよ。頼む。
Split me wood.
どこに行く？
I'm gonna shock. Come.
ほんまに頼む。
2, 1. One logo. I'm going up one.
1はいい。かなりいい位置取りしてる。
Like second logo.
い
Can you whip here?
や、これ無理。今無理。終わったわ。ここでビックロしたらドラマやけど、まあきついやろな。シネマを見せてくれ。頼む。もうシネマを見せよ。サベージ。ここでクラッチ。シネマ。ナイス。なんかこれバグって今ダメ食らってない。これ多分バグダメージじゃない今の。今のバグじゃないの。はあ。落ちました。ということで俺も配信終わります。ああ。落ちたわ普通に。まあじじ出しちゃうんで。頑張ってくれって感じやん。
Skyrocket yourself forward.
Up top, desperately.
ちなみにトラッカーだけ見とくか最後。
These guys taking all the.
はい、セッティ持ちました。ではまた、グラファとかでも会いましょう。それじゃあ。